Yeah.
So hold on a second, Roy. I want to know your life story. I don't know anything about
My
you right
life
now.
story?
Yeah. So who is
lay it
Roy
down.
and why is he on Tea Time?
That's a good question. TeaTime invited me. I don't know why I'm here. I guess he needed someone to
Fill in.
Yeah. No, I play World of World mostly, I used to. I've kind of sort of taken a bit of a step back from the game, I guess. I'm a little burnt out just because I've been playing since release, and I've been kind of playing World of World sort of hardcore.
Are you tier 1? Are you in Blackgate or?
No, I'm well, I've usually been playing on EU actually. I just started playing on an A about 4 months ago, and I'm just on a linked server, Aerodon Terrace, which is linked to FA. I just play with a guild. Like we don't. I'm not really involved with the server or the community or anything. At the moment, I just raid with the guild, and that's pretty much it. So we kind of just go to link server to link server, depending where the best matchup for fights are.
But you are
top tier
our
GVG.
resident-
Top tier
you are a
GVG.
I was
World versus World
sure. Yeah.
master. Or
I don't know about master, but yeah.
World versus World Master. You heard it here first. That's confirmed. In my opinion, that's just confirmed, right? I was saying, Inks, you got something to open us up with, haven't you?
Yeah, I heard that you wanted to say
Yeah,
something.
hold on. I'm replying to an idiot real quick.
Wait, where? Are you not?
Oh well, Reddit.
concentrating
Like
on
where
TeaTime?
else would you be replying to idiots on? Either YouTube or Reddit. I mean, those are the main two places to connect with those types of people.
Is it on
yes.
the Wooden Potatoes thread about the raid review? Is that what you're replying?
Yes, well, I was just informed that the entirety of the reason that WildStar did so poorly was because it tried to base its content around raids. Yeah, that was its only failing. It wasn't because their best in slot gear was RNG every time you picked up a piece and rolled random fucking stats that may not even matter to your class. That had nothing to do with it. It was just because of raids, Anyway, can you imagine if structured player versus player was treated the same way? No one is allowed to play and experience structured PvP unless you are esports level good.
That sounds good to me.
Is a joke in and of itself. But don't worry, you can enter empty structured PvP maps and explore them by yourself. Maybe ArenaNet should start adding juicy, delicious lore to structured PvP that only esports people get to experience. So basically Sinjinir, because he's the only one left. So only Sinjinir can experience this delicious, juicy esports PvP level of lore. Can you imagine if raids were just like that? Wouldn't that be great, guys? That sounds great to me.
I'm so confused right now. What's happening?
Inks is reading comments. He's made the mistake of reading comments, is what this is.
Okay. All right.
This is what the community literally believes. They believe. Try to imagine this, Boots. Put yourself into the body of a Redditor who believes that you need to be esports level good, which is a meme all on itself. But try to imagine that you need to be esports level good to even attempt raids. I mean, you just can't do raids unless you're esports level good.
Well,
I had no idea that Teapot and most of Salt, especially the people that they carry on a weekly basis, were esports level good. I had no idea. All you guys should be getting pro level salaries. You should all be in pro league PvE esports. Excuse me. I had no idea you guys were so pro. It's amazing that all the people who raid are esports level pro. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can see the ridiculousness of that statement.
I thought you had to be esports level pro to even be in PvE.
Yeah,
it's just that's the true endgame content, right?
Exactly. And
challenging group content.
World versus World players truly love PvE, right?
Yeah, well, we all play PvE. No one exclusively plays World versus World. That's a myth.
If I want to play devil's advocate about that comment, Inks, I could say that he has or she has a possible point in one respect. that the percentage of esports level good PvPers to people who play PvP is probably about the same percentage of people who raid versus the rest of the PvE.
Not even close.
You don't
Not even
But
close.
the people who are esports
Not
level
even-
good in
First of all,
PvP is
the
like
people
10
who
though
still
in
play
the entire game.
PvP, the entirety of the structured PvP community is equal to the raiding community at this point. I mean, they're basically equals.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That's true, because you could just pop it in PvP and technically you're playing PvP. So, yeah, good point. And there's 10 people who are esports level good in PvP now, and there aren't only 10 raiders. So, yeah.
By the way, for those who are going to miss it, that was a joke. Yeah, that was a joke, guys. I just need to state that because the comments are going to be full of, how much Inks hates Reddit and how delusional I am. But you know what?
I feel pretty delusional right now after.
Yeah, you should. You should. You should feel. Go read Reddit comments. You're going to feel extremely delusional, just like DPS meters. I mean, you will become so delusional.
Was that a transition?
You'll buy a
That's a
Prius
transition.
to smell your own farts.
That's a transition right there. And
I think
you
it's
know,
important to point out all transitions as they occur.
Roy has some thoughts on this. What do you? I mean, because actually, guys, fun fact.
What?
Fun fact. In World versus World, it is common to run a DPS meter just so you can see like who's actually got the biggest dick within the squad. By the way, so this is common practice. So you actually have some thoughts on the current hilarious DPS meter drama going on involving the BGDM meter Bhagwan. Brazil and Chris Cleary. So, what do you think about what's going on right now with regards to the terms of service stuff?
Well, I just, to be honest, I don't really see the reason that you like. What's the advantage of the Bhagwan DPS meter? I mean, it shows health bars, and there were a couple other things, right?
Yeah,
I don't really know
too
much about
there's some stuff left inside of it that's not kosher.
Right.
For example, you can just enable gear check, right? It's still within the code. It's just disabled by default, right? And you have to. The only way you can enable it is in the config file. And I don't think the health bars are allowed either. But other than that, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, I think it's all good to go. Like it's pretty legit.
It was the health percentage as well, or the health.
Is that not?
Health
Yeah.
Bar statistics as well, right? Is technically against their.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yeah, you're not allowed to
Okay,
see the actual health. The actual health is not allowed because that's not actually accessible. You can only see the percentage.
But that's also good because that if that is against TOS and they have to remove that, that was one of my complaints about BGDM in PvP, for example, because you could really quickly see which Mesmer clones are fake.
It doesn't work on. I don't think it works on players. It's by design. At least Arc doesn't work on players. It just shows 0 out of 0 for HP.
That's what I'm saying. But the Mesmer clones, it does work on.
Oh, does it?
So
it does work.
It does.
Oh.
So when you're in PvP and you have BGDM going on, you look at a Mesmer doing his thing, and you just could tab between the clones and automatically know which one's the real one.
I mean, you shouldn't be running a meter in PvP anyway, really.
Yes, I know.
Right, regardless.
You don't really need to.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't really matter. Like, what does a meter do for you in PvP? Nothing really.
It's kind of useless.
My top DPS.
Well, there was a reason they were running it. It had nothing to do with DPS.
Well,
so they could see their health bars.
Yeah. That's really funny. No, I mean, in fairness, this definitely wasn't intentional by Bhagwan, but like you could basically see people through walls. And stuff like that because the health bar the health bar would render. And
I mean that sort of thing obviously shouldn't be allowed, especially for any game mode.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. I think that functionality does exist in different add-ons, just not through walls. Like there's a lot of I think it's Guild Wars 2 Helper maybe that pops up the health bars bigger, but it's only available because I think it's image based, like it reads. It's based off the image that is projected, not based off of the memory. So I think it's okay.
Yeah, but it sucks.
Yeah.
The only way
you don't
to
get to cheat PvP.
Yeah, the only way to get anything good is by memory reading, because like the ones that are reading the screen, the combat log, are pretty shit. They're not very accurate.
Oh, wait, no, not Yes, for sure. But I'm just talking about for the health bars. Like, I think there is non-against TOS version of making health bars bigger.
Really?
Think so. I thought so. I might be wrong.
How would it? I don't know. How would that even work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Nice boots.
I thought there was.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm wrong.
But I mean, look at this. You know, apparently BGDM's already been patched. Arc has been patched. They've already complied. Yeah. Chris Cleary brought down the hammer. He brought down.
Had this for a while, where there's two different versions. There is a compliant version and a non-compliant version, and now BGDM has done the same thing. You can go to the website and you can download the compliant version, the one you're supposed to run, and you can download the non-compliant version, which breaks the rules. It gives you stuff you're not really supposed to have.
Disgusting.
Which, by the way, you shouldn't download, but people will because it's available.
Of course. I mean
after the conversation on that Reddit thread, I wouldn't put it past Shazbot to want to crack down on people who are running the illegal versions of the.
Oh, I've been corrected. Arc has removed Forbidden Fruit, which was their no-no version.
Naughty version.
Naughty
so
version.
Arc only has compliant now.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
I didn't realize that about Arc, but BGDM has compliant and non-compliant version for download.
Okay. All right. So BGDM, yeah, they're the bad boys of the DPS meter world, I guess.
Well,
let's talk about why this started in the first place, shall we, Teapot?
Yeah.
You want to inform people why this even started?
This is such a weird. This is a very unusual story. So it's like, and guys, you might be surprised to know that Brazil is involved in this to a certain extent as well. Maybe you're not surprised. Maybe you're not surprised about that. Brazil is involved as well. So he's had health bars on his meter for ages. Then Bagawanda said, "You know what? That's actually pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and borrow that. I'm gonna put that in BGDM. Boom, he did it. But then he was then he made this post on Reddit, which is quite unwise. He said, ArenaNet, they should really be part of the game. Linking.
Wait, that was Brazil who posted that?
No, Bagawan posted that. Bagawan posted, this should really be. They should put it in the game. And well.
Yeah,
there you go. That was a bit of an overextension, I have to say. I mean, you can't just say, "Hey, put my hack in the game. Come on, do it." It's a little bit.
It was a good hack, though.
It's a good hack. Don't get me wrong. BGDM is a great little app, a great add-on, very useful. But to say, ArenaNet, put it in the game, it's a little bit, oh yeah. Maybe you're going a little bit too far there. Maybe you're... and then he mentions, Brazil made me do this. Big credit to Brazil, as I have seen this in his latest private DPS meter video. And then there was Brazil just shit-talking and going crazy in the Reddit thread, in the YouTube comments. It's beautiful, guys. It's really, really spicy drama.
Go there now if you want to read it.
It's what we need. Exactly. We got to
read about.
We have to. That's how we're gonna save Guild Wars 2 is by really entertaining drama. But yeah, looks like there you do. Shazbot sorted. Boom. Look at those upvotes, guys. 400 upvotes.
There was a lot of. I don't know. There was a lot of interesting talk in that thread about people who. Were upset with sort of the threat of legal action. So Jesus.
You mean if they were using it in their accounts?
Well, so what happens is Chris Cleary responds eventually, right. Sort of, I guess, felt baited out perhaps by the thread that was created and developing tools within BGDM that are not compliant, that it hasn't been compliant for a long while, and blah, blah, blah. So he makes a post that I thought was actually really good. He's like, I know this is going to be unpopular. I know you guys aren't going to like this, but these things are not okay. And you need to become compliant. You need to change the meter to become compliant. And Bag's response, even if jokingly so, was, I will comply. I will remove the bars when you add it to the game. Add it to the game, and I'll remove the bars. Otherwise, I'm not gonna add it to I'm not gonna remove them. So of course Shazbot responded with, I'm going to be as like blunt and clear as possible. There could be legal consequences to not complying, and that created a whole other series of backlash within the thread, like scumbag ArenaNet trying to sue people, and all kinds of people citing Blizzard lawsuits and whatever for trying to sue, creators of add-ons, and it's just like you just shake your head and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just like he gave you a clear set of stipulations.
Yep.
And I guess Bagwan was just trying to be funny. I guess he was just trying to have a joke.
I don't know if Bagwan was really just trying to be funny. Though. I think Bagwan's attitude is that of a person who makes add-ons, that he doesn't care whether or not they break the rules. And he was... BGDM existed before DPS meters were legal in any way, case, or form. Like, he's a guy who makes things that don't have to be legal, but are good for the community because he thinks they're good for the community. So, like, him responding like that, I don't think it was just trying to be funny. I think he doesn't care. Like, I don't think he cares.
Well, he doesn't play the game, so, like, what are you going to ban him? Why should he care about being banned for a game he doesn't play anymore?
He should care about legal action. I don't think that Chazbot was actually, like, threatening legal action. He was just saying that this is something that could happen. You're a creator of something that helps a player base break the TOS, and that's something that a company shouldn't be like forced to allow. Anyway.
No, this is all true.
So it's an interesting drama-filled thread. The things that really sort of grate on me throughout the thread, besides that, I'm not overly fond of the OP, but or the way that he responds. But there was just a slew of people within the thread saying, you know what? ArenaNet can't even detect when you're using these tools, so use whatever the hell you want. Hack the game, just break all the rules, break all the terms of service. Nothing is going to happen to you, which is just ridiculous to sort of promote within the thread itself. Do whatever you want.
I mean, is that even true as well? Because
I have no idea.
Well,
I have heard that...
We don't know.
Ways
I have heard that it's difficult for them to detect some of these things, but I
have to imagine they have. If they've banned it, they should be able to, stop it from being used as well. Otherwise, that wouldn't really make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's better safe than sorry. Otherwise, you're going to end up getting deleted.
Yeah.
There's also this thought process of, well, if we all break the rules, they can't ban everybody. Like, that mob mentality. Yeah. You gotta love it. You just gotta love everybody break the rules because they can't possibly ban all of us.
I mean, it's completely understandable. It's completely understandable.
Huddle together as a group and they won't get us all. They'll only get some of us.
Yeah. It's completely understandable that Chazbot made those comments because first of all, as a security lead, you can't just let everybody do whatever they want, right? You have to set lines, and he did that by saying this is what's allowed for DPS meter, and then you give them an inch, they try to take a mile, and health bars aren't a mile, but health bars that you could see through the map kind of are. So I don't know. Anyway, there have to be some lines that you can't cross, and fly hacks are one of them. Teapot's mom.
I mean, if it gives you a clear advantage over other players that don't have it, I just think that's obviously wrong. That sort of thing.
100%.
Which obviously would be going along hacks and being able to see through walls, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess.
Too. Go ahead, Teapot.
I mean, I guess to a certain extent that would apply to seeing absolute HP as well. That is kind of useful.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, personally, I don't know that it really makes a huge difference. I mean, for me, I don't understand from certain people's perspectives. I don't think it gives a huge advantage, although I don't really know why you'd need it. Maybe it looks better, like the actual health bars, but he posted in the OP that how can you play without it? I mean, I don't know. I don't see the appeal. personally.
It's good.
Maybe I've been playing the game wrong this whole time. Yeah,
maybe you're
it's
just
not
so good you
bad,
don't need
but
hacks. You just don't need hacks. Like hacks would only slow you down at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
I don't
wouldn't
know.
even help.
I don't see that it's so necessary that you'd have to have it.
Yeah,
I mean, if it
agree.
provides something useful, like obviously the DPS meter itself, the base DPS meter is of course very useful. For raids or Worldless World, whatever.
Yeah.
Just to compare DPS and everything. But the health bars and the other stuff that he was trying to promote. I mean, I don't know. I don't see that it's so necessary.
I agree.
Other than just taking an advantage over other players.
It's not something I go, oh, my life is going to change when I see these giant health bars. These giant health bars are going to just make my gameplay insane.
They're gonna change the game for you. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like the new expansion.
It's the new expansion is going to add health bars.
See, that's what ArenaNet's going to do now.
Yeah.
They're gonna add this to the expansion.
That's why they're trying to shut it
expansion.
down. They're trying to shut down these hacks because they're just going to add them to the game in the next expansion. They're actually just going to take.
I mean, that was the whole plan for the expansion. They're scrapping Crystal Desert. And
health bars.
They're just health bars.
Just health bars.
That's the name of the expansion.
Health bars. Guild Wars 2 health bars. I'd still buy it.
I mean, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. I'm sold. Like you
I'll
fight
quit my job and I'll just play 24/7.
You fight the next dragon and it's just a giant health bar. Like it doesn't even have a modeling mod. They've cut down on modeling so they can get the content out quicker, and you just fight a health bar. A giant health bar.
And
Wow.
and Asgard in chat has it right. Most of the concerns have nothing to do with how good something is. It's more about how they interact with the game memory. And ArenaNet has said that the way in which these things interact with the game memory is a no-no. We don't want you doing this. Don't get me wrong. I like the HP on bosses, and I like the health bar thing. I think that's great. But ArenaNet has said, we at this time, no, you're not allowed to add this into the DPS meter.
Doesn't with the squads, you have big health bars.
Yeah, but not next to the character.
Yeah, they're not next to the character. You have like the box. You mean if you the squad panel, right?
Squad panel, yeah.
You mean just in general or with the DPS meter?
Without the DPS meter in general,
right. Yeah,
you have bars.
Well, they're not health bars. It's like a box. If you have it pulled
that
out
shows their health.
Right. It doesn't show percent or anything like that.
Right.
And
you look at it.
And you won't be able to you won't be able to see where that person is anyway.
Yes.
That's why it's so powerful.
That's why I thought that there were things that weren't against the TOS that did do the health bar, because you have the panel, and you could know their name from the panel, and then you could see their name out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, you have it.
You just overlay a.
You have it if you're in a party with someone too. You've always had the actual health bar.
Yeah.
In party view, at least with the squad, and you obviously don't want to have squad view open for certain classes in Worldless World.
How hard would it be to program something that just looks at your UI, sees the health bar, and programs something to overlay on top of the character of the same name, a health bar?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
You're asking the wrong person.
Okay.
I think that would actually be possible though, because because I think you can. There's legal ways to get character positional data, like where they are in the game, and you could kind of translate that to the screen.
Yeah, because they have the same thing for Look Who's Talking, right? They have they could do an overlay of say who's talking on Discord.
So it's probably possible. Cool. Yeah, it's doable. Oh, hang on, as Mike found something. You cannot see the health bar of enemies. Oh, that's just what. Yeah. Wait, what?
And he's pointing it out that you can't see the health bar.
Oh, you can't? Oh.
Like he means so with the DPS meter you would be able to see the health bar of enemies, but even with the squad view, obviously you can't see the health bar of the enemies without it because they're not in your squad. So he's saying it provides that aspect of being able to see the enemy's health bars with the new or with the add-on of the DPS meter.
Yeah. Well, it seems
so
that BGDM couldn't do that anyway. It seems like BGDM didn't have wall hack.
Oh. Well.
Disappointing. It's a shame. Yeah. Goddamn.
I just like to point out that 90% of the chat up until now has been talking about Roy.
They're very excited.
I don't know why.
They love you, man.
I'm not that interesting.
They actually would pay actual money for Roy selfies. And guys, this stream is it some frames per second? Like every single second is a Roy selfie. If you think about it, it's like you guys are getting a treat today.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah, they're Roy's boys. It's a real thing. You know, they've got their own little Discord channel. Roy next door. That's a nice meme. You got the Gachi in there as well. We've got a legend with us. And what game mode is he a legend in? It's World versus World. I think it's time. It's time, guys. We've had the drama warm up. Okay. We're going to World versus World. Like, it's time to go to the mists. Okay, and attack some doors or something. So.
Well, you've been venturing into World versus World now for many weeks, and you apparently enjoying it too.
Yes, I would say that. Now, I don't know, like Inks, I don't know, you're probably gonna like trigger at this, but honestly, World versus World is probably my favorite game mode right now. Like probably by quite a long way as well. Okay,
one streamer at a time.
That
doesn't surprise me. You like things that are cancerous and.
we're not the. Well, I mean, obviously we're top tier on Underworld. We're crushing fools, but we're having a lot of fun. Like maybe. Like after a year, like it will become jaded and actually hate the game mode, just like we hate everything. But right now, World vs. World is fucking amazing. We're having a massive amount of fun, just going around with our epic Soul Army, just dunking scrubs. Okay, and I don't know. I think the game mode is actually a lot of fun. There are issues with it, like skill lag. That's really annoying. Actually, can we not have that? And obviously the reward structure, like you will. Probably end up poor if you play the game mode.
Good luck.
And never get ascended gear.
Skill lag.
But no, I like it a lot. I enjoy it a lot.
That's definitely a big issue though, and it's been a present issue for pretty much the whole time. I mean, it was never really fixed.
Right.
Skill lag.
Yeah,
obviously.
it isn't fixed.
It seemed to
get a little
slightly bit better. Yeah, it was improved at one point, but then right after they added the stab changes, like 2 years ago or whatever, it got awful. It was you couldn't do anything, and there was a post at one point, one guy was saying, because obviously a lot of people complained about this, I think like a year ago, he was basically saying, we're doing our best, but as the game gets older and as you keep on adding more stuff, and so like stab stacks and adding more things on, he said that it's going to make the skill lag worse. So it seems like they don't have a fix for it, which is very promising.
Yeah. Well, just turn your character render down to 0.
Right. Yeah. Make it so you can't see any enemies in World.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like
you just have to guess. Polling. You just have to guess where everyone is, and it will be fine.
Yeah. Predict the enemy. That's the whole. That's the art of war, right?
It makes it more challenging. Exactly. It adds another level to the gameplay. I've heard some. I've seen people complain about the stability change. Do you think it was bad or good?
Well, now it's fine. I mean, they originally it was obviously you pop stability and then you just had stab, and it could get ripped from you, but you could just run through as many CCs as you wanted. And then the first change that they made was it was in stacks. So, for instance, Stand Your Ground, which is like the main stability skill, provides 5 stability stacks, and if you could get hit by 5 CCs, then that's gone. And then they just changed it, I think 5 months ago, a little while ago, so that you couldn't get the stability ripped instantly. So it was, instead of like running through 5 CCs and you wouldn't have it, you'd have an internal cooldown. So it was 1 CC stack or 1 stab stack every, I think it's 0.75 seconds, which is fine. I think that's fair.
Is that true? You could only but that's only from not boon removal. That's
right. No. If you get corrupted, then it's
all gone. It's all gone.
I lost my train of thought. Damn it, Worlds. The sort of issue with that is when they made that change, like the original change, the pirate ship meta was kind of just starting, and this made the pirate ship meta a lot worse, just because, especially with larger groups, if you have, Garfrey just said it was a year ago they changed the stab stack, so that internal cooldown. But if you have 60 people versus 60 people, there's going to be a lot more CCs than say 15 versus 15. So obviously that caused a lot of issues, because people were just like, you couldn't move anywhere. So the melee was a lot less relevant. The melee it was a lot easier to kill them. And so then pirate ships started sort of becoming stronger, and now it's better. I think the meta is okay, to be honest. I know a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people don't like boon share, although boon share really isn't relevant anymore, in my opinion. It's still strong, but it's certainly not as broken as it used to be.
Well, wasn't World versus World, wasn't the stability stacks changed originally because of World versus World? Because
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
because
think
everybody had too much stability and it was.
Yeah, no, it was kind of too strong. I mean, the only way to remove it was to corrupt the melee train. So basically, you had these huge melee trains just running over everything, and then you changed stability, and you only had pirate ship. And now, a year, 2 years later, whatever, you have it in a pretty balanced fashion, in my opinion. The only problem, of course, is power creep, and now there's just too much damage. But that has nothing to do with stability. So, well, in a way. But I think the meta is okay. I think it's fine. I think the biggest issue with World of World right now is just population. And there's no support or very little support.
Sure.
Obviously, there's not really any support for PvP in a sense either, and probably not as much as you guys would like for PvE. But I mean, I don't know. I don't really play PvE as much.
Sure.
But...
So you don't really mind Epidemic then? You don't mind Epidemic so much?
Well, now in I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guilds, so obviously, I'm more invested in GVG. Although I've been asked not to talk about it as much because World vs. World is the larger aspect, and I mean that's fair. But there's a lot of guilds who kind of will agree if you're fighting guild versus guild not to use it, which is fine if both guilds want that. And then obviously they did change it for World vs. World, so it's not quite as strong in a sense. Although I think it's still kind of broken. But I mean, if you have good revenants, if you have good clear, it's not gonna be it's not like if you have one group running Epidemic and one group not running Epidemic, the group that doesn't have it is instantly gonna lose. But you can still one-shot people with it pretty easily, I think. So it's right, the whole blast Lightfield meme. That was someone just said.
Just kick on, yeah. Just blast those light fields to get rid of the combies.
I don't know. I don't know exactly why, but I would say 2 months ago it was a lot stronger. I mean, obviously there was the change, but I think just less people are kind of becoming more aware of it, and I don't know. It's not as broken. I would say it's not as strong. But the real big issue with it is that the Guildhall instance, which is where a lot of GVGs happen, is a PvE instance. So the Epidemic change doesn't affect. It's not affected there, which of course is a problem for GVG, and that's why a lot of guilds agree not to use it. So.
Okay. I mean, I guess. Oh, so that's a PvE instance.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other issues with it besides just the
That is
Epidemic.
weird.
Well,
how could it be a preview instance when there is 3 different servers on it?
3 different servers? No, the Guildhall.
Guildhall.
Like the
Guildhall. Okay,
not
you're not talking about
OS. No.
No, not the Obsidian Sanctum, right? You think?
Yeah, the Obsidian Sanctum.
Obsidian Sanctum is not a PvE instance.
Yeah. Okay.
Although if it was, a lot of people want it to be instanced, just not PvE instanced.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I think.
Do you think is it even large enough? Really?
The arena?
Yeah.
Some people will say no. I would say I think it's okay. It's so the really, like, I'd say right off the bat, as soon as Heart of Thorns came out, the biggest issue with the size of the arena is that it made you can't run staff Ellies pretty much. You can't, and this was sort of part of the reason that the melee ball was created, which a lot of people refer to as Cancer Ball, the Cancer Ball meta, which is basically everyone just runs in a clump. So you can't have focus parties anymore. They just get destroyed in Guildhall Arena, and it's the same thing with like staff Ellies and sort of the traditional backline. You can't run it's a lot harder to run like full Zerker, light classes and stuff. So it is too small. It is definitely too small. At least if you want to run backline and focus party and stuff like that.
What are the other problems?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
With the arena?
With the arena, yeah.
Oh.
Well, okay. So the fact that it's a PvE instance means that condition and retail scale differently than in World vs. World. So retail is way too strong. I mean, you kill yourself literally from retail. We run DPS meters when we GVG, and our Ellies they're getting, I think it's something like 15k retail damage from air overloading, and they have 20k health maybe or something. It's just you can't do that. And then of course confusion is too strong.
Yeah.
The instancing itself is awful. I don't know. I mean, I don't think any of you actually. We did a GVG tournament for you in February, the end of February, and it literally took us 2 hours to get 30 people into the same instance.
Terrible.
Jesus.
which is so there's no support for that.
That isn't good.
Like I mentioned, it's too small to run what you were running before Heart of Thorns. I'm sure there's other stuff I'm missing, but those are the really big things. And again, I just want to point out, this is just GVG, and not everyone GVG. Some people are just set on World vs. World itself, which
sure, but I think it's important. The reason the arena was added to
I don't think it was
Guild
for
Halls,
GVG.
It wasn't.
No, not just for GVG, but you want to be able to have those kind of events, and you can't. Yeah, it sounds like you can't really have those meaningful events.
ArenaNet said that they're never going to support GVG. They publicly said that they don't want to. They don't have an interest in it. They don't think they don't see the point. I actually sent an email to ArenaNet, and I got a response from Gil Gray saying that they already support a lot of competitive modes, so they don't see a reason to support GVG.
Ouch. Damn.
And that was in October. Yeah, that was,
That stings, man.
It took a month for me to get that reply, by the way.
I want a reply. Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think their intention for the arena was GVG at all, of course.
No, but I feel like if you're going to add an arena to your guild hall where let's just say it's your guild, forget other guilds for a second. If it's just your guild and you want to set up things to battle your own guild mates, it should be done it should be done in the proper way. It should be done in a World vs. World scale, because that's where you experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that as well. They're called in-houses, where you split into two teams and you fight each other, and you do that all the time.
Yeah. So even then, though, there should be something that needs to be fixed then, because those issues are the issues are not unique for GVG, right? It's not
right.
It's not
That's my point.
It's not that they will be fixing the arena and the guild hall instancing in general. That's not just like a GVG focused change. It would be it doesn't work properly. It's a little bit broken, so it needs to be fixed anyway.
Unless they want it to be a PV instance, which doesn't make any sense. Exactly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So that should be fixed.
For not for that area, the guild hall doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't know about that, because for it to be PVE, actually they don't have enough support for it to be truly a PvE zone. Because one of the ideas we had a long time ago when they were talking about the arena was maybe they could put in the ability for guilds to do boss spawns, and then people could train on those boss spawns in the arena. But that doesn't exist, so that's the only reason.
Well, that will be the special forces training area. There's already the DPS golem arena, so there's no need.
Yeah, and raid bosses are basically just DPS golems anyway. So
nice. Yeah. They're basically just doors. They're doors in World vs. World.
Yeah. But we should continue talking about World vs. World, because besides GVG, in World vs. World, you're saying the meta's good right now. Okay, you're saying it's all right.
I think it's fine. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge problem. Although, again, it's harder to. So, like, you have EU and you have NA, right? And to be honest, World vs. World in general, so like the basic World vs. World, they're different. EU has sort of more organized, like larger public groups, I'd say, than NA does. So you have like a commander tag up, and they'll get a map group on them, 40, 50, 60, whatever, and they'll go and fight another blob like that. NA, you primarily have guild groups running, and then pugs will just follow them. And that's that's fine, that's how it works. But again, with regards to, you used to have a lot of gank players, pre-hot, and you used to have a lot of really squishy backline players, but they just big dick damage, and you can't do that as well anymore. And part of that is power creep. Part of it is just the meta has sort of devolved in. Well, I say devolved. It's now the meta ball. Well, to some people it'd be devolved, but now you have the melee ball meta, and it's not as strong in sort of open rating, like I mentioned, like the big groups. You can run like staff Ellie, you can run sort of full Zerker necromancers on staff and stuff, and kind of pirate ship with those. But obviously you still run in with the melee. But it's not, you can't. So if you wanted to play Thief, and a lot of people after Heart of Thorns came out that play the traditional Thieves and Mesmers and stuff like that, they quit the game because they just didn't have a role anymore. Certainly with GVG, and even more, and also in an open field, usually like if I'm leading and you get Thieves in your squad, you'll kick them, just because they don't provide anything for the group. And a lot of people have problems with that. And honestly, it's the same thing with like Druids.
Yeah.
They don't provide as much as an Elementalist. Same thing with Scrappers. Same thing with Mesmers. Although Mesmers now, now you can run the Mantra healing build on it, and of course
Minstrel Chrono, Minstrel Chrono, the dream.
So they have a bit of a role, but the main classes in World vs. World are Revenant, Necro, Warrior, and Guardian. I mean, those are the 4 classes you really want, and so there needs to be more of a role for the other classes, because obviously Mesmer and Thief, they had. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot Elementalist with those other 4. But obviously Mesmer and Thief, they were the focus party, they were the game classes, and now they don't have as much of a role, and they can't play that way anymore. So
are they more like good? Could they still be used as scouts, or?
Well, I mean, any class can scout. Although scouting also, you can't scout as well anymore. If you liked scouting, which is fair, if you really enjoyed scouting, running around the map, upgrading the keeps and towers and stuff, you're not needed anymore because the upgrades are automatic. The only thing that you can really do is run Dorlax, and that's it. I mean, you have the emergency, whatever the heck they're called,
the Tactivators.
Well, you have the Tactivators. You have the like balloons that go above keeps that alert you when enemies are there. So you can still run around the map. I mean, you can roam, although roaming is shit. You can ask anyone to roam. It's awful. I mean, you can't really roam. But now you don't have as much of a role as a scout. It's not as important. And a lot of people were asking for scouting to be sort of rewarded before Heart of Thorns came out, and then they turned around and made upgrades automatic, and they were like, who cares? They gave this thing
the participation,
the participation. You can share initiative, which obviously is nice because if you want to scout, you're not going to be part of the fights or whatever. You might not be part of the taking the keeps and stuff. So now you can still get rewards as far as the reward tracks go, and the reward tracks was maybe the only thing they've added well to World vs. World, and that's the only thing that people have actually been asking for that they added. Although those still need to be better because a lot of them are shit. But and you don't have any like sort of World vs. World exclusive items as much. At least it's not as good.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Hey Roy, is Kintoss a friend of yours?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, he thinks I shouldn't be on the panel because I don't know enough about World vs. World.
Get out, Boots.
You don't have to listen to him. He's an idiot. Yeah, he's Polish, so whatever he says.
Okay, I forget it.
Get
I'm
out.
actually order Polish too. So
I mean, I haven't actually played World vs. World in like 2.5 years. So I know about as much as Boots.
Yeah, we got that. That's why That's why we have Roy here. We're asking these questions. Roy, the changes to World vs. World that happened over the last year. Which ones do you love, and which ones do you think maybe need to go?
Which changes?
So in the last year?
Yeah, because since they really started putting them in probably in it was last year actually. They had server linking starting last year.
So as far as regarding server linking, and I talked about this when I first got on Teapot stream a lot. Other than population, the server population itself is a huge issue with regards to one server being more populated than others. As Inks was saying earlier, he's on Black 8 and he's always been on Black 8, and
no population problems. Right,
for the most part, they pretty much rolled over everyone. They bought a lot of guilds, and they won. If that's how they want to play it, fine. They always had a lot more commanders, they had a lot more guilds, they had a lot more people, pugs, whatever. They won every single season. They were always number 1 in their matchups and stuff. They just dropped out of tier 1 for the first time ever. I think they might have dropped out once before, but for the most part, they were just much stronger than any other server. And you had that on EU as well. You had it with Seafarers. You have it with FSP now. So server linkings, I think, is a good idea. The problem was when they give those servers that don't need server linkings. And I don't know how they figure out which servers need links. They've always sort of, and this has always been an issue, how they calculate population on servers and stuff. A lot of people always ask them how they do it, and they don't say. They just released there was a post, I think a month ago, someone was saying that they just started using the amount of ranks, I think it was, the amount of,
World vs.
World vs. World ranks, how the highest ranks on, basically they were saying if you have more diamond ranks on one server than another server, that server has higher population. And which is debatable. But so links are okay, I think, but they also consider playtime.
Do you think it's better to link, or should they just
get rid of them?
Condense servers.
Right.
Period.
Okay. So yes, I think they should condense servers. So there really isn't a clear solution to the population problem. I think at this point, you kind of just have to delete, like, just re-roll all the servers. And I mean, people aren't going to love it. Obviously, you'd have to figure out a really, really good way to split people up. Because you can't split guilds up. You can't just send 20 random people to 20 random servers. So there would obviously be issues, but I think it would be, something to try at least, just because right now there's obviously problems. And it'd be better.
But then what prevents the same thing just to happen again to
nothing,
people?
Honestly.
Exactly.
But you'd be restarting. You just have to keep. Not necessarily keep doing it, but you could keep it like it is now, which isn't good, or you can re-roll the servers and it might help for a bit. It's kind of like there isn't really a permanent solution to the server population problem, just because you have the ability to transfer, and if people want to, they can just stack one server. And so this was the biggest issue with server links, was that it made bandwagoning a lot easier. If you put a 500 gem server onto an 1800 gem server, and that 1800 gem server is really strong and they have a lot of commanders and they have a lot of plugs, whatever, then everyone's just going to go to the 500 gem server for the 2 months and just bandwagon there and win the matchups and easy karma trade, whatever. And so that just leads to stale matchups, and it leads to boring fights, and obviously one server always winning and one server or two servers always losing. And so that was the biggest issue with server links, other than the fact that they give links to servers that don't need the links. But again, like I said, I think it was a good thought process. It's good that they were trying something. They had to try something. There wasn't any sort of population control methods being put out before that, as far from our point of view. And there wasn't any sort of, they weren't trying to fix it. So it was a good idea, and I think it helped in the beginning. Although it ended up killing a couple of servers right when they started introducing it. Deso died immediately.
Really?
Seafarers is now dead.
Yeah. That was my original server. I was original Seafarers.
Seafarers was number one for, I think it was something like
ages. I went out
60 or 80 weeks
squishing,
in a row. They won,
crushing fools.
Every week. And then now they're desolate. They don't have anyone. They're just dead. And part of it, again, there's not really a lot of servers that have the same sort of population as they used to. And
it's desolation.
It's a 5-year-old game. Deso now is also not great. It used to be a really strong, you used to have FSP, Deso, and Seafarers. Those were the 3 really big servers on EU, of course. And now it's really just FSP. And Piken also has population, although, there's just server issues with Piken. But Riverside, which is a German server, also has decent population, but they don't have the same population as Piken and,
of course,
and
they're
FSP.
German.
Right, they're German.
Something I want to know, though, how many people would you say, is there a large percentage of people that still use server transfers for the linked servers?
Yeah, absolutely. So guilds use it mostly. Like I mentioned before, I'm on ET, which is linked to FA. And so actually what EU is doing, which is really smart, a lot of the GVG guilds, the guild leaders, they get together whenever servers are relinked, so every 2 months. And they basically decide where each guild is going to go, just to make fights more even, make sure there's more guilds on, guilds spread out, basically. So it's not, you don't have 8 guilds on one server and 1 guild on the other, because obviously then those 8 guilds are going to only try to fight the 1 guild, So that's a really good idea that they've done. But again, this is something that the players had to do themselves. There wasn't, this wasn't something that ArenaNet suggested. And that only helps with GVG. It doesn't help with the other parts of World vs. World, which, again, there's probably more people playing just World vs. World than not GVGing. But I think no matter what you do, I think, like I sort of was saying before, the game is 5 years old. There's obviously just less people playing it now. I think the biggest issue with just Guild Wars 2 in general is it's not competitive. It's not a competitive game. It's a game, in my opinion, that's geared towards casuals. It's a game that doesn't, obviously ESL just left Guild Wars 2. There hasn't been a PvP tournament by ArenaNet in a very long time. There hasn't been a World vs. World season in something like 2 years. PvE doesn't have any, you guys have the raids, which is, that's your esports, basically.
Yeah.
You don't have any like ArenaNet made tournaments. I don't think. I don't know if there ever were. I know there were a lot of player made tournaments. You had speed clears and stuff. And I'm assuming you have that now.
I think there was like 1 or 2 sponsored PvE events. Well, 3.
Yeah, I know of one really good one.
Yeah,
TeaPot had one, and then I think Nike, Brazil, DNT in general had like 2 or something maybe.
So, just from my point of view, the biggest thing with Guild Wars 2 itself, because Guild Wars 2 I think is a great game. I think it's the best combat of any MMO. I think it's probably the best MMO out right now. It's just that it's not competitive at all. So anyone who wants to have a competitive play, they're not going to play Guild Wars 2. It's not going to attract new people looking for competitive play. They're going to try and find something else or just not play, and that's what's happened to a lot of people. Every time a new MMO came out, BDO, Arcade, whatever, a lot of people from Guild Wars 2, a lot of guilds would leave, and they would go play it for a couple months, and
come back.
It would suck. And some would come back, and then some would leave. And you just, over the course of the years, you just had people leave and not come back. And so now you have no competition, you have a lot less player population, and it's just kind of going downhill, basically.
I mean, it does say a lot, though, that there are players that are going to their through their own means to actually organize this type of competition.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's such a bad thing. I think if they fix the guild hall stuff, I don't think it will be so bad that the GVG stuff in the actual Borderlands was organized by players. I don't see that as too much of a problem. As long as there is some, if there was an outlet in the guild hall, that would be like the dream, right? But I don't think it's so bad that they join together and orchestrate the transfers themselves. I don't think that's really. I don't think that's really saying that. Yeah, exactly. But I don't think that it's such a bad thing that ArenaNet don't get involved in that. Although it would be lovely, obviously. But I don't think with the current system that can be facilitated really.
Yeah. So you're saying the one thing that would help World vs. World is if seasons came back, if some sort of competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think that.
Do you think in the state right now that World vs. World is in, they can bring a season back?
They'd have to do it differently. Absolutely. And again, I think condense. If they don't completely re-roll the servers, I think condensing them is something that has to do, which is kind of similar to what they have with the server linkings, but instead of just linking a server, basically, I mean, in my opinion, they should just have like 9 servers on NA and EU, and they have something. It's like 27, I think. I mean, there are servers with no one playing on them, and the only reason you have anyone on those servers is because of the links. And so the idea behind the links, of course, was you put a smaller server with a larger server, you get people to go to the smaller server, and then you split them up, and you have the same population on both, which obviously didn't happen. So it's I don't know, it's hard to say, but I think seasons coming back would be a good thing. They would have to do them a bit differently. You obviously couldn't have every single server compete against every single server. I'm assuming they would just keep links and then do it like they would have now. I don't really know, but I think when the seasons were out, there were huge pushes by each server. I mean, Blackgate obviously got really hyped for them. Seafarers got really hyped with them, and I don't know that someone just said on Twitch, I don't know that seasons would necessarily fix anything, but I mean, I just think it would be nice because it would be something for the World Wars World population to have.
Yeah.
I would prefer that they fixed issues with the game mode. I wouldn't rather just have them throw out a season and be like, okay, World Wars is fine, because that obviously wouldn't help anything. I would prefer they fixed issues and they started communicating better with the players, which they've definitely done a better job of in the last year.
So let's try to compile a list of things that you would like to have fixed in World vs. World.
Well, right now they're working. Let's start with scoring. Right now they've been working on scoring for quite some time.
Yeah, so that's
any light at the end of the tunnel for that?
We don't know. They don't. The biggest problem I think is that they don't really communicate very well with what they're trying to do, and I think it's the same with a lot the other game modes as well. They sort of sometimes kind of hint at what they're trying, but they don't really give you a clear idea of what they're doing. So they changed the way that scoring works now. So now you have skirmishes, which is basically 2-hour splits. Just every 2 hours, the score updates, and you now have victory points instead of just war score. And so you win basically if you win a skirmish, you get a certain amount of victory points, and then obviously whoever got second place in the skirmish and third place, they get a lower amount of victory points, and then whoever has the most amount of victory points at the end of the week wins. And so they've changed how many victory points you get per skirmish win. They changed the amount of time for each skirmish, I think, and then they've said that they're working on other stuff as well. But Right. Obviously, someone just said give them some slack. One dev can't answer anything. And I understand they can't answer anything, but why do they only have like a 2-man dev team for World vs. World? That doesn't make any sense. There's no. It's clearly undersupported.
It's a big game mode. You know, there's a lot of stuff there, and like having one guy, it's not gonna cut it.
I will say the fact, even if every change they've made in the last year has been dog shit awful, they're still doing stuff, which is certainly better than not doing anything, you know, than just completely ignoring the game mode. But again, I think they seem very detached from the game mode. Two of the things that they added were the portable cannons, which was a joke. Basically, you got these like you could pick up a cannon and then run around with it, and it doesn't add anything to the game mode. It's stupid. And also, I mean, it means that fights are gonna have like 20 people with portable cannons shooting at you, and it's, you know, that's not enjoyable. And you know, so that sort of thing, like that sort of idea, which is against what a lot of, I think, World vs. World players sort of wanted. I'm not trying to like there's a whole sort of in World vs. World like fights versus PPT mentality, and you know, regardless of what you enjoy more, I think that portable cannons don't really have a good effect on either of those perspectives. They don't really, you know, and it's just that sort of idea that they add stuff that doesn't really help, that players didn't really ask for, that players don't really want. But again, you know, trying stuff is better than not doing anything, in my opinion. It's
sure.
I'd rather they add bad things than just completely
than nothing, than literally do nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, you don't see them playing World vs. World very much. I mean, they could just be hiding the tag, I guess. Oh, and someone, Ixar just mentioned the Super Golem Week, which basically they made Golem.
That was a funny meme. That was a funny meme.
They gave Golems these like buffs and stuff, and it was broken. I mean, everyone was just running around in a golem killing each other.
It was amazing. I loved it.
It's just like, it's like, oh, we're gonna add this fun. Like, look at all these World vs. World changes we do. We add a golem week where everyone can run around and be a golem. Like, who gives a shit?
You know what was really great about that was how angry the people who normally play World vs. World every day were that entire week. They hated it.
I didn't play it all the week.
I would go back to World vs. World if there was a Doliac week. If everybody was just
Doliac.
World vs. World.
So you have to carry the supply yourself. Like you have to be all the NPCs.
Yeah.
I have to say I was part of the problem. I was in every day. I was in World vs. World and a golem, just making people rage. Like, get the hell out of here! We're trying to play World vs. World.
And to be honest, I wouldn't even personally care, you know, if they did stupid, sort of fun, silly stuff like that every now and then. But the problem is, like, this is their, I mean, they're not fixing anything. They're adding these sort of fun, silly events that don't help World vs. World and piss off the actual World vs. World players. Yeah. And then after the event ends, you go back and you are still pissed off and unhappy with World vs. World. So,
it's possible that in the minds of the people who came up with these ideas was this would get people who don't usually play World vs. World the incentive to come check it out.
They've done other stuff like that as well. The second year of the game, they had a really big push to try and get more PvE players into World vs. World. And so they did that by I don't know if you know, but when Edge of the Mist came out, part of the living story was to go into Edge of the Mists. You actually had to go into Edge of the Mists to talk to, I think it was the Assurin, whatever her name is, so that they were trying to get PvE players into World vs. World basically and be like, oh, this is a fun game mode, like let's go play World vs. World and stuff. And to be honest, it did work with some. Like, I mean, I actually came from PvE. I didn't World vs. World for the first year of the game. And I was in World vs. World just doing dailies, and then I started playing with, you know, World vs. World players and following tags and stuff, and I got really into it. But they also added PvE events with when the Nightmare Tower was out, I think they added these events in World vs. World that were the same PvE events that you had in PvE, which was really annoying if you wanted to try and play World vs. World, because you had these huge PvE events, and then so you'd basically be playing World vs. World, and then
PvE break.
A spire,
PvE break.
like one of these little nightmare.
For the flowers,
and you'd see like 30 PvE players rush over to this event to try and get it, and you know, it was really annoying. And it would basically be like if you guys were doing a raid, a raid instance with your guild, and then you had 5 World vs. World players.
Yeah, they just burst in.
Zero
They just,
idea how to play the game,
yeah.
and they're like, okay, we're here, we're gonna play your game mode, and they just basically ruin the raid for you. And I'm not trying to say I don't think PvE players should play World vs. World or that they shouldn't come into World vs. World, but the problem is when you try to introduce PvE players into World vs. World, in my opinion, by just putting
and not get them to play the game.
Yeah, you're not having them play World vs. World. Like, they should want to play World vs. World. It's one of the 3 game modes. And it was also one of the most heavily advertised aspects about Guild Wars 2 before the game came out. It was supposed to be endgame content. And so I would love it if more PvE players came in. I would love it if there was more of a population. I think it's difficult to try and get people who only want to play PvE I don't even see a point to try and get people who only want to play PvE into World of Worlds. Like, that's not how you get them to play it.
Well, yeah, in my experience, like the biggest struggle with getting getting my guild to do it, at least it's just a PvE guild mostly, is that I can't get them to take it seriously. They kind of think that World of Worlds was like a big meme joke. Like they can't help themselves. They're not trying. They're like running PvE builds. Like they're not even traits, right? They're literally running PvE builds, and they walk into PvE. Yeah, I've managed to yell at them. I can't, that's kind of the best way. I've learned to be World vs. World commander. Basically, you just shout at people until they do what you want, and it is better now. But there are still like people who turn up, like no idea what they're doing. They're like randomly running around in circles, being completely useless, and with completely random abilities that are totally useless and full berserker game. What the hell are these people doing?
You've experienced what every single World vs. World commander has for the last 4 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And it's a problem with the wider community, because most players, maybe not most players, but there's a good chunk of players who don't look at builds, who aren't looking at strategies, and don't know what they're doing, basically. And you see people like base ranger with full signets, and you
see elementalists with signets.
Exactly, right, yeah. And the trouble is that ruins it. That kind of, if you're trying to get something organized done, like having a few people like that can really screw you over, right?
That sort of goes back to the whole, again, from my perspective, that Guild Wars 2 is just casual. You wouldn't, like, if it was a hardcore game, if World vs. World was really a hardcore scene, or a hardcore mode, rather, you couldn't have that sort of play style, I guess. You couldn't be casual. And I'm not saying that that's the only option. Obviously, I think there's obviously a place for casual players as well. But I think that World vs. World, as a base game mode, is supposed to be more competitive. You're supposed to be trying to beat the other servers. You're supposed to be trying to kill other players. And I'm not trying to say PvE can't be competitive. And obviously, if you're doing a 10-man raid and half your group has the wrong builds on, you're not going to be able to do it. There are obviously people that 5-man it or whatever, but it's not as efficient. And so obviously it's the same thing with World vs. World. But I feel that, like, if you have people who have zero idea how to play the game, zero really interest in the game. A lot of the sort of PvE players going into World vs. World are just doing it for gift of battle.
Yeah.
Because that's, you have to do it through the reward track now. Like, the amount of times that I go into World vs. World and I see people, like players in map chat, saying, "I'm just going to AFK at spawn because I'm here for my gift of battle." It's just like, okay, well, how does that help World vs. World players?
And why announce it?
Yeah, well, that too. But it's, it's like people, you see posts on the forums and Reddit and stuff about people who are like, "Oh, I went into World vs. World to do my gift of battle, and it actually wasn't a terrible game mode." And I was like, well, okay, great. Thanks for
yeah.
Good to hear.
There's a lot of similar stories from Michael. A lot of them have never World vs. World, and they actually, this is a lot of fun. Like previously, like it's remarkable what people can do in an open mind. And like previously, if you would have asked these people about World vs. World, they said, haha, dead game, trash, boring, doors, gates. But they actually got into it, and we started fighting people. And actually, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of guilty of this as well. Like before I started actually going in, I was going, World vs. World, who cares about that? But actually, no, I completely disagree with my past self. It's a very, very solid game mode, and it's a lot of fun to do with a group with a guild group, and try and get something done.
With a guild group that actually cares about playing.
With a guild group that actually cares, yeah.
Even if they don't care.
No, if they don't care, it's really annoying. It's yeah. If they don't,
fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, remember how you didn't want to play structured PvP with me, Boots? It's kind of like that.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Well, could there be, what would be the way to try and funnel people into this game mode and actually, attempt to play properly? Could you have something like suggested builds, for example, if you come into a Borderland or EB on a Guardian, it would say, hey, this is what you're for, You're the stability guy. You're the healing guy. Like check out these trait lines. They're pretty good. I mean, they got stuff like that in PvP, right? It's like
well,
why
they
not?
have the default builds in PvP. Although I think a lot of, if there's any PvP players watching, I think a lot of them would say that a lot of the default builds are pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, some of them are shit.
I think there's a Guardian. One of the Guardian default builds has the shield trait, but doesn't have shield as one of the weapons.
Oh my goodness.
Which is sort of an issue. I heard about it. I don't know if they fixed that yet, but obviously
in the most recent patch they made a lot of changes, so I don't know if that might have been the ones.
But I mean that would be a good sort of start there. If you go on any of the server forums for instance Pike and Square, which is the European server that I usually play on, we have server builds basically, like suggested server builds. So I would say probably most servers had that or have it, if they're still active, where you go on the forums, you find the build for your class and you can use it. And also Meta Battle, the guild that I run with on NA, we have all of our pretty much guild builds on Meta Battle. So anytime anyone asks us, what build should I run for this, we basically tell them to go to Meta Battle. But I think, and I don't necessarily know how you'd fix this if you're gonna basically, again, just not make World vs. World competitive. I think you have to make it competitive, but it's really just the interest of players. Sort of what you were saying, Teapot, is how do you make people more interested? How do you make people want to do that? I mean, how do you get people to say, oh, I want to, have my build be good? Because a lot of players will just go into World vs. World and, they'll join a squad and they'll run and follow the tag and they'll be on a shit build and 20 people will say, hey, you should run this or you should change that. And they'll just ignore you, or they'll say, I don't care, or I'm just here to have fun. And
because you have who do you have to draw upon in Guild Wars 2 for interest into World vs. World? You have the PvE players. You have the World vs. Worlders who left, maybe. And then probably not really, even though PvP is PvP and World vs. World is in a way PvP, and you might get interest from PvP players into World vs. World, they don't have the gear. So it's a little bit harder to transition from PvP to World vs. World, I think.
I mean, it depends on your interests. I mean, for any game mode, obviously, PvP you don't have to have full ascended gear or whatever. But for PvE and World vs. World, you have to grind for the gear either way. But yeah, I think it would be probably a bit more difficult if you as a PvP player don't want a World vs. World, or you might want a World vs. World, but you don't want to get the gear for it. Yeah, that would obviously be an issue. But
so it's mostly PvE people, is what I'm saying. It's mostly PvE people that are going to be the people that, if you want to make World vs. World more populated, you're going to try to draw upon those people.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's interested in World vs. World is going to play World vs. World, whether or not they are a PvP player or PvEer. But yeah, probably you'd probably get more people from PvE. And as far as what you said about getting people who left, who used to play it, to come back, again, I think there's a lot of people who would come back if Guild Wars 2 got good again, so to speak. Because you had the population on every server. The server that Teapot is on, Underworld, is an extremely low ranked server. It was bronze forever, but I think in the beginning of the game it was one of the stronger servers. There's a server called Ring of Fire, which is notoriously awful, and is just always been like the bottom tier. But it was number one for a really long time, or it got very close to being number one in the first year of the game. And there were people on every single server. There were guilds on every single server, and you just don't have that anymore. Like I said, obviously it's a 5-year-old game. You're bound to lose some players, but there needs to be a way to get those players that are left to come back. I think that would be the easiest thing to do, if you could get those players to come back. Because again,
it's not the easiest.
Or do you just? Or I suppose you're not able to do that. Would merging some servers be an option then? Like actually just reducing the number of servers.
Absolutely.
But again, if you merge the servers, I still think that you're going to run into the same problem as you have now. It's just going to spread out again. It's going to have the concentration of people going to the more solid servers, and then
there's literally no way to prevent that, though. Really.
Yeah, there isn't.
Unless you completely reimagine how World vs. World
you could either rework it completely and hope that it works, which is an option. And there was like this battle groups or like a alliance sort of thing that they were thinking about, which is sort of you'd have servers controlled by guild groups. And then I think they either ended up scrapping it or they just turned it into the server linkings, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice to see them sort of expand upon that idea or even ask the community what, because I think it was pretty hush-hush. I think there were some like beta testers or something that they were talking to about it, but they didn't really release it to the community-wide. And as far as merging servers, yeah, you're going to run into the same problem eventually, most likely. But I think condensing it would make more sense just as opposed to linking servers, because I think it's easier to bandwagon now with the server links than I think it would be if you condense servers. I mean, if you there's I think 27 EU servers or 25, and if you have half of them are links basically. If you take in total, you take 9 servers and you try to make 3 of them sort of like really large population, 3 of them sort of medium population, and 3 of them low population. And then you lock the really big populated ones and stuff. I mean, it might work, it might not. And I mean, that's just a very basic idea. Obviously, it doesn't have to go exactly like that. There's different ways to do it, but I think it would have to help. Yeah.
It probably would help at first, anyway.
Right. Yeah.
I think another problem with population based servers and reworking it just based on population is that not the entire population of servers play world versus world. Right? So like you could have completely equal populations of servers, but only 10% of one server plays world versus world.
Yeah, but they'll have metrics. They'll have metrics about that they can use.
Right.
Yeah.
They again, this is what I was saying before, like we don't really know how they measure that. Like they released one thing which was saying that it's playtime and the amount of world versus world ranks people have on that server, but that's the only information they've really ever given out as far as figuring out server population, and we don't know if it's split up. But I mean, obviously, with the World vs. World ranks and the playtime in World vs. World, that's certainly focused more towards World vs. World players. But we don't know if when they figure out population, we don't know if they split it up between the World vs. World players and non-World vs. World players, or if, it's every player on the server or not. And as far as like server pride goes, which would be another sort of issue with merging servers, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, because it makes
no one cares. I mean, again, it's just. Well, there are some people who are like always going to be on the same server and have never transferred, and I mean, that's probably 10% of the population at most. And honestly, I would just have to say if they wanted to merge servers, those people would just have to suck it up because most people don't give a shit about server pride.
I think they should highly condense the servers that currently exist.
That's what I would like to see.
And then
I mean, maybe
and then look later at some kind of linking or whatever matchups and pairings you need to do when the populations have settled and you have proper metrics for that, because there are some desolate servers out there.
Yeah.
Desolation.
Yeah, well, Desolation is actually one of those servers that
it's a desolation. It really is desolation in World vs. World.
It's better than some servers probably, and it's not as dead as it could be, but it's definitely not even close to. I mean, you used to have in every server in Tier 1, which is 9 servers, not Tier 1, rather, Gold Tier, you used to have queues on every single borderland. That's 4 borders queued on every server. That's 9 servers. I mean, and now you have maybe 1 queue on each server, at most, maybe 2 queues on reset, which is when the majority of people play, and it's sad. And, you usually only have that on, like, 2 servers out of however many there are. So, yeah, it's obviously way less people playing now, and I don't mean to say like, oh, game dead, no one plays, because that's not true. There are still a lot of people playing it, but it's nothing compared to what it was. It's just
it definitely doesn't help that there hasn't been any seasons for 2 years.
3.
Right. Yeah. I don't. It's been a while.
2014 was the last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. So I think seasons got to come back, and I think that something like what you're saying, Roy, has to happen before season comes back. Mm-hmm. Either because you can't really have seasons with world linking, can you?
Say that again.
You can't really
because the links will
season with world linking. I don't.
Yeah,
think.
Well, I mean, if they did seasons for 2 months, if they started the season right when the servers got relinked, you could kind of do it. But again, I mean, that would make bandwagoning even worse.
It will be
because
exactly.
Everyone is going to go to one server to make that server win, and that wouldn't help. I don't think that would be a good idea. I think they would have to condense the servers and then do seasons. But again,
Well, you just have to disable transfers then for the duration. But then again, you'd know when it's going to start, so it wouldn't even help. It's like, what could you even do? It's like you can't stop it. You can't stop the bandwagoning.
You can if you disable transfers, which I think they should do if they find a way to split the population up sort of evenly, and also keep guilds together. If they can keep guilds together, and if they don't have one server, like when they condense the servers, if they don't have one server clearly with a larger population than the other servers, then yeah, I think they should lock transfers at least for a bit, for a couple months or something. Because obviously they do and they did and they have been blocking servers whenever they have a very high population or whatever. They do lock servers. I mean, Blackgate was locked. Yeah. I don't think it's locked anymore. It might be. I'm not sure now that it's dropped. But Blackgate was locked forever. No one could transfer to Blackgate. And it was the same with I think Seafarers and FSB and stuff. So they have done that before, and that might have helped a bit. But I think it condensed servers and then lock transfers.
So if you
has an interesting point.
If you lock the transfers and then reshuffled the servers, would that stop the bandwagoning? Because then you wouldn't know what.
First.
Yeah,
it would.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know because if you have to lock and then reshuffle because then if you
no, it's no.
Because if you reshuffle after you lock, then people don't know which server to bandwagon to, right?
I understand, but let's say you get reshuffled into a server that your friends aren't on, or that your guild, that other guilds you're used to playing with or whatever aren't on. There's a relationship that forms between guilds on a world.
So there has to be an announcement that in this amount of time we're going to lock the servers. And then reshuffle after the
lock. Yes, you announce it. Yeah, you announce it and then lock it, then reshuffle it.
Well, what's going to have to happen is similar to how I was saying how every time there's relinks, the guilds on EU get together and they discuss where everyone's going to go. There has to be some sort of agreement between everyone who's basically playing World this World to split everything up evenly. And that's going to be really hard just because there's going to be people who don't want to leave, like Inks was saying, the players they want to play with, the server they want to play with. And that's not even server pride. It's just like if I'm a commander and I want to be on a server where there's other commanders, or I'm a pug who wants to be on a server with a lot of commanders, I'm not going to want to transfer to a place, And this was part of the issue they had. That there was no appeal to go to a lower tier server really, until this. The idea with server linkings was again, this is a lower. It doesn't cost as much to transfer to this server, so go here. And a lot of people were like, why would I go there when I can stay on this server, or I can go to this server, which is obviously better. It's going to be more enjoyable.
Or even as you're saying, even as an individual player, you do have your favorite commanders.
Yeah,
you're not going to want to leave those commanders. You trust them. You know that they're good. You like their style.
I wonder how much data ArenaNet has about the amount of server transfers at what prices have been done over the years, because they could probably see the best possible price point to put a server transfer to incentivize people to server transfer, rather than if they pick it too high.
They've tried that.
And so they could. I mean, I wonder how much money they make off the server transfers is what I'm getting at, because they could definitely use a season as a way to
make some money.
Make a nice cash. So if they put all the perfect price points.
Sorry, Inks, go ahead.
So I was never involved in this directly, but I used to be a member of KNT, which was a World vs. World guild on Blackgate.
Yep.
And I never gave anything to this, but other guilds that were linked with KNT, friendly with one another, they would pay for guilds to transfer to Blackgate specifically to fill time slots that were unpopulated, mostly oceanic.
Yeah.
KNT is free bags, mate. Anyway,
don't listen to videos. He's an idiot.
But that was all paid with gold, like thousands and
yeah. I mean, that still happens.
Nobody paid gems. Nobody spent money. It was thousands and thousands of gold.
Well, I mean, some people probably spent money to get the gold, but yeah.
Maybe, but from my experience, it was, hey, we need to get this guild onto the server to fill a time slot that we're not awake at, so that we're not left unguarded. Yeah. Everybody give us 10 gold, 20 gold, or whatever it was, right? So that they could pay for it.
You still have that, at least on NA. It pretty much never happened on EU. And part of the reason for that is there's really only one time zone for EU, basically. You don't have the OCX, you don't have the NA. I mean, obviously there's night crews, and the server with a better night crew, at least at one point, would usually be higher up. You know, if they were able to get all the points during the, you know, well, for NA, I think it's like probably 6 p.m. to 2 in the morning or something along that lines. Are those lines for to EU servers? If you had more people, then you usually win the matchup. But for the most part, on EU, you only had the one time zone, and you didn't really have anyone buying guilds. Occasionally, there were servers who would try to like get NA guilds to transfer over for that night crew, but for the most part, that's exclusive to NA. But it still happens. There are still guilds that get bought. I mean, and we're talking like 35,000 gold given to each guild. From the
wow.
Yeah, to transfer them over.
It's quite the business.
I mean, yeah, well, and Blackgate was notorious for it, and is notorious for it. I mean, people have said that they're saving up gold if another season comes back to basically just buy everyone and win. And I mean, that's what they did when they won the other seasons too. And you know, that's
to be fair, every tier 1 server did it to some extent.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm not saying
Blackgate. It was more notorious on Blackgate than some of the other servers. Every server did it, but Blackgate just had better coverage, generally speaking. Even in, and this goes back, I think Dews was linking spring tournament results from the wiki. These are inaccurate, which is funny as all hell. This is saying that Blackgate came in 3rd, which isn't true. They actually came in 2nd.
Some drama.
And Jade Quarry and Tarnished Coast 2v1 Blackgate, which was smart.
Oh, baby.
And they traded wins to get 2v1 there, but Tarnished Coast got pushed into 3rd place, while Jade Quarry took the 1st place spot.
Yeah, a lot of double teaming, and that's actually how Seafarers ended up losing their first matchup. FSP and Deso double teamed them to beat them.
Which there's nothing wrong with. I mean, you need to 2v1 servers.
No, that's a great aspect of it. That's a great aspect of World vs. World. Like the funny politics game is really funny. Yeah.
People were super salty on Blackgate about it, but
the more salt, the more enjoyable the game is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have that competition anymore. You don't have like there's and there really hasn't ever been, but except for server pride, that there's no reason to win a matchup. Like who cares? I mean, unless you don't want to drop lower tier wise, like it doesn't matter if you win. You don't get anything for winning. You get a bonus chest, so it's like an extra green item for winning the matchup.
Nice.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
So do you think that server pride is something that needs to come back?
Oh yeah,
in order for World vs.
Oh,
World
definitely. Definitely. You got to be proud.
How are you going to do that?
You got to get patriotic, mate.
The seasons would help with that, and condensing the servers would help with that, in my opinion, because not
even
right
if
away.
It blows up so many servers.
Yes, and not right away because a lot of people would be unhappy with the server they ended up getting on. But if you make, I mean, you'd basically rename the servers, right? If you condense them, and then you'd have like this server versus this server versus this server. I mean, and if they say like, oh, after a couple months, just to make sure population is pretty much balanced, we're going to put the season out. Like I said, Blackgate has been trying. They've been preparing for the next season since the last season ended. Again, 3 years ago or whatever. They're ready to go, and it's it's the same thing with some other servers. And I mean, when you had these seasons out, you had people literally playing for a week straight. Like the server that I was on, what they did was they had these like commander rotations. So basically, they had a spreadsheet where you would have like 10 commanders fill in like a 6-hour block, and then the next commander would go the 6-hour block, and so on and so on. And you'd have these things called push weeks where you just push as hard as you possibly can and PPT as hard as you possibly can, and just like continuous leading, continuous fighting and stuff. And I mean, the seasons were great.
This happened in silver tier too. That was happening in silver tier.
It wasn't just gold. I mean, when that happened, Pyken was silver, and we won. We ended up winning the silver league, and I loved it. I mean, we pushed hard. I mean, there were nights where I literally stayed up from 6 p.m. to pretty much 6 p.m. the next day, just tagging up and and
that's hype, man. That's crazy. That's great.
That's competition, and you don't have that anymore.
That's
fantastic. Funny because those tournaments were like the height of World vs. World for me.
Yeah, which is pretty sad.
Because like you said, it was crazy. You had commanders doing 48 someone just said like a 50-hour shift. Yeah, there were people who were like dying in their chairs coming because they were so dedicated.
But that's great. That's fantastic. Insane. And the people get into it that much is brilliant. That's like the whole, that should be the case with the game mode.
Like, who cares? Like, why would you want to do like I used, like I said, I used to tag up every single day for many hours, and now I don't care. Like I don't. I used to like try to flip 2 or 3 keeps as much. I would go for 4 hours straight to flip 1 keep. And now I spend 10 minutes trying to flip something, and I'm like, this is boring. I'm going to go play something else. I just, there's no incentive. Like, it doesn't matter anymore, and it's boring.
And so, like, even if rewards were better, you wouldn't care. You just need the competitive aspect.
Yeah,
you do need better rewards, but
the thing is, first off, if you're playing World of Worlds still right now, you never played it for the rewards.
You're not. No. There's loot banks, man.
The competitive nature. I mean, that's what attracted me to World of Worlds in the first place, because I wanted to try and beat other people. I wanted to be competitive, and that's further in, towards GVG and stuff. Obviously, GVG is more competitive, I would say, and that's why I got into GVG. And you don't have that anywhere in Guild Wars 2, really. I mean, the PvP season is awful. I mean, there aren't any PvP teams. No one's doing scrims. There aren't any tournaments anymore. With PvE, I don't know the last time there was a PvE speed clear stuff, sort of tournament going on. It's just
the rewards though. The rewards did bait a lot of people into Season 5 though, right? So that could be a way to breathe some life into the game mode.
Corlick has a good point. Roy, you right. And probably all current World versus Worlders don't play for the rewards. But if you want to get more people into World versus World, the rewards are an issue, I think.
I think what Corlick was saying, I agree with you as far as the rewards go. I mean, obviously, I would like to have more rewards. There needs to be a better way to get Ascended Armor in World versus World right off the bat. But I think what Corlick was saying was, as far as motivation to play in general, like he was saying, that there are people who still enjoy flipping keeps and stuff, and there are people who still just enjoy playing the game to enjoy the game, and that's fine. But I'm just really burnt out because, I mean, I've been playing for 4 years, and I've been playing World of World really hard for 3 years, and I mean, I'm just personally a bit burnt out of it, and I'm a bit disheartened, I guess, just because in my opinion there's way less people playing and there's no competition, and I would like to see that, but. He's absolutely right. There are new players to the game, or there are some players who still really enjoy it. And I have fun. I mean, I raid every night on an A because I really enjoy playing with the people I play with. Not necessarily the gameplay itself, but I mean, I still do find enjoyment in playing, and there are tons of people who still find it. So, he's not wrong. I would absolutely say that. And I'm not trying to say, when I say, oh, I'm burnt out from the game, or oh, this is boring, or oh, I don't enjoy it, that I'm the end-all, be-all, opinion for World of World. That's obviously wrong. And this also leads into the sort of argument that the reason I think that ArenaNet has had so many issues with World versus World, and just in general communities and stuff, is that it's such a varied game mode. There are so many different opinions. There are so many different points of view. There's so many different play styles and stuff. It's very difficult to sort of nail one down. It's very difficult to sort of say this is the direction that the World vs. World community wants. And there's an NA sort of initiative which is trying to fix that, which is it's called the World vs. World Initiative, and it's basically all the guild leaders, or at least most of them from NA, have gotten together. We have a Discord, and we've been discussing, what we want from World vs. World. We have been discussing, the changes we'd like to see. And there was actually an EU sort of attempt at that about 2 years ago that I was a part of, which is kind of similar. We had representatives from, I think it was 20 different EU servers. We would get together every couple of weeks, and we would get on TeamSpeak, and we'd discuss stuff, and we'd basically make up questions for the servers, like our servers, to ask them, like, what do you want from World vs. World? What would you like to see? And that initiative ended up dying out because we kept trying to contact ArenaNet, and they ended up never talking to us and never responding. So, those are the sort of things that would, I think, help. But yeah, just to go back again, what Corlick was saying is right. I do not represent every single World of World player, absolutely, by all means. There are a lot of different opinions, there are a lot of different point of views.
I do. I represent everybody.
Yeah, exactly, you do.
Inks is the true World versus World player.
Oh shit! Sorry.
No, you get.
Just a note about something too. Lemony and a few others have brought it up about problems with the seasons in the past. You know, the seasons were too long. So while players were crazy hardcore to begin with, it went on for like 9 weeks, which was way too long. People were getting burnt out halfway through, especially if they were just losing week after week. It just wasn't going well. There was also considerable drop off after the season, after they get their achievement points or whatever the case is, because they're so burnt out of playing so hard for 9 weeks straight, right? So
the reason why they're so long is because there's so many servers, though, right? So like, if there's less servers,
well, that was part of the
they don't have to be that long.
I think that a couple things about the season. Yeah, you're right. And like I said before, they would have to do it differently. They have to do the seasons differently than they did before. And again, obviously, part of that would tie into how they end up changing the servers. But so one thing that was wrong with the seasons, the rewards were awful. Basically, for first place, you got a Doilak statue in your waypoint. That was getting first place. And you got like some masterwork items. And you got a finisher.
And a 250 charge finisher.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got a limited use finisher basically. And then the I forgot what I was gonna say.
Didn't the bottom tier servers got like literal junk items or something?
Yeah, right. If you lost week after week, it was awful.
Yeah, you didn't get anything
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rewards were better. Like, had no ties to winning or losing the matchups. It was just you got your little mini, you got the just by playing in the seasons you got nice rewards, but just not winning or losing didn't matter. Like getting those the Mistword champ
for some people, and again it's the same now in my opinion. You wouldn't try to win because of the reward. You would try to win because you wanted to beat the other server, and that's just the competitive nature.
Because of the smack talk.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
The other thing I wanted to mention, as far as the achievement points go, so I think it was the last season they did. It might have been the season they'd done before it. And I think part of the reason they did the seasons was to try and get more players into World vs. World, to try and attract PvE players. And so part of the way they did that was, and this is a complete joke, basically, you had to get rewards from the season. You had to go into World vs. World every week, and you'd have to finish like 3 achievements. So first of all, to get rewards, you have to do 3 achievements a week. I mean, that doesn't really, 3 achievements is nothing. And the achievements were like, take 2 centuries.
Yeah.
It's like, basically, you would go into World vs. World for about 20 minutes, and then you get all the rewards. So you'd have players that would be playing literally only to get their achievements. And you'd have like these hardcore server leaders and stuff, and these hardcore like groups like trying to beat the other server, and they'd be going as hard as they can. And you'd have like a group of 50 people, and then you'd flip a tower, and half your group would leave because they were only there to flip the tower, and they were only there for the achievement. So that obviously was done improperly. And someone just linked a thread.
The trash talk thread.
Oh, the trash talk was good.
Just beautiful.
The trash talk was good.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it, to be honest. It kept part of the game mode alive. I mean, some people obviously don't like the toxicity and the salt, and that's fair. I mean, obviously being toxic is one thing, but just the salt and, the competition between servers, I think is really important. You can't have a competitive game mode without that. Yeah.
It existed on the official forums too. There was a lot of trash talk threads for the first 2 seasons, and then they got rid of those completely. They just
So I think part of the problem was ArenaNet. They didn't really plan, or maybe they did, but I don't know what they were thinking. But like when you take, you take a server versus another server, all these players, they're trying to beat each other. You make that the game mode where you're trying to beat the other server. I guess they were hoping that people wouldn't get mad at each other, or they wouldn't be like, oh, we're better than you, which obviously wasn't the case. So they did have to end up, you can't have matchup threads on the official forums, which is why the Guild Wars 2 WorldVsWorld.net forums were created, which a lot of people refer to as the Salt forums, which were very great forums. Now there's a new owner for them, so it's the old forums are all gone. It's the same address, but you basically don't have any of the old threads and stuff, which is unfortunate because there were a lot of really nice matchup threads in the old forums. Nice being an operative word, of course, but it's the forums, the official Guild Wars 2 forums were a bit of a mess, certainly at times, and I think they still probably are, for various reasons.
I had fun.
That's why they use Reddit.
Yeah.
Posting those.
Yeah.
Emery
I
Bay.
think the real trouble is that the only way you could do it properly to convince people to start competing would be to only just tie the rewards purely to winning. But then you have the problem with people would try and bandwagon, and it's going to trigger people who lose. It's going to trigger people who think they can't win, right? If you hide the rewards in Guild Wars 2, if you say that you've actually got to get good and do something to get your reward, people are going to be very upset indeed. I mean, people were really well. I mean, there was drama about the PvP titles giving you AP. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like, what? That's just ridiculous. And there's always going to be people really angry and just stirring up shit if they can't get literally everything. I don't know.
So going back to your thing about how you get the rewards for a winning server is by doing the achievements, and then people got in there just to do the achievements. How do you get around that? You
make the achievements longer. You make it a bit harder, but I mean also. You're right. I mean, it's a bit difficult to do. There has to be some sort of way to. Again, you kind of have to bring back server pride. I mean. So what I was saying basically was that these were the PvE players that were just coming into World vs. World purely to get those rewards, just to farm up some rewards and then leave. And there needs to be a way, again, I mean, this ties back to the other part about getting more players into World vs. World. There has to be a way to attract people to World vs. World for World vs. World. ArenaNet has countless times, with the PvE events and stuff, they were trying to get PvE players into World vs. World for PvE. And that's not how you do it. You have to get them to care about World vs. World. You have to get them to want to play World vs. World, because if they don't care about World vs. World, they're only going there for the rewards. That they're not going to play. They're not going to really care about it. And again,
has a good idea actually. Rewards based on hours, but not hours played. I think that would be a little bit crazy because then people could just AFK and spawn and not do anything and just ruin it for everybody else.
Well, no, but they're not going to get rewards.
They have the participation tracker, right? They have the ability to track.
Don't give them participation. Don't give them participation.
Rather than based on hours played, do it based on how many things you've accomplished in.
Right. I mean,
I think they should add a pip system where every time you get a kill, you get 2 bags. And every time you get killed, you get a complimentary bag.
No.
To make sure you get pips for losing.
That's a terrible idea. Yeah. That's the casual mentality. Right?
No.
That way.
You're just gonna have 50 people running into a blob
and just farming themselves to get the easy pips. Yeah.
I mean, that was the OS farm, to be honest.
Yeah.
Obsidian Sanctum farm.
Yeah. Get that Ultimate Dominator title, right? Yeah. Yeah.
That was so stupid. I mean, you literally had people just sitting at waypoints for hours, just jumping into each other and dying.
Now that is
has another point. If it's only based on the accomplishments, then doing the most rewarding things are the only thing that's going to be done. Karma training is going to come back full force.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's World vs. World has a lot of complicated issues that.
Well, it depends. It kind of depends though. Actually, I think it does actually kind of depend, because suppose that some guilds start karma training, right, and that's going to be attracting basically the casuals, the PvE types who aren't really invested in the game mode.
Of World vs. World.
Yeah, so they're not really doing anything good or anything like that. So what's eventually going to happen is that surely the guilds that are actually invested in the game mode are just going to start farming them. Exactly. See, BG, he knows what I'm talking about, okay? Because basically they suck. Let's be real here. Like, the Karma Train players are not going to be the organized groups. They're just going to be all in one big blob squad, random classes, random builds. They're going to be running around, going crazy, smashing into doors, trying to cap stuff. But then if there are some guilds on at the same time, they're just going to get completely squished by people who are actually trying, right? So I don't think that would be so much of a problem.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's possible that there will be some people who do a heck of a lot for the server, but don't get rewarded because it doesn't show up on the old Tic Tac score sheet. Like just organizers who are doing a bunch of stuff, commanders who command small groups that are vital for the team, defending home most of the time. Yeah, you see, I mean, even on our server, even on the server that I'm in, which is obviously like
low tier. There are commanders who are always there. You see them every single day. They're going crazy. They're capping everything. They're defending stuff. They're trying to organize people to actually get that sick PPT going. And there are these players. Like I mean, obviously, I imagine this would be to a greater extent on the higher tier servers. There are people who are still trying to actually win for nothing. So that's why we add rewards. We add rewards to winning skirmishes based on participation, and you get more rewards for winning the entire matchup. And then at the end, you get Ascended Armor as well. You get something that gives you Ascended Armor. It's just like PvP. We solved it. That means you can get like 50 Ascended sets for World versus World
you'll just have to go craft first, and then you can buy your Ascended Armor.
Yeah, Ascended Armor is like to talk about rewards a little bit more, which is kind of the core issue to a certain extent with World versus World. We need Ascended Armor. We need it in World. Well, not like the Wii, but World versus World players, they need that juicy Ascended Armor, boys. Right now, all you get is like those random Ascended chest drops. You can't rely on that shit. You can't. You get green items all the time. That's all you're getting greens and loot bags. That's not gonna. You need a lot. I mean, how many loot bags do you need to craft an Ascended Armor piece? That's like a fuck ton. You need like 10 stacks of loot bags just to get an Ascended piece. So you're not going anywhere with that.
Well, hey, you get Ascended chest drops, once every 3,000 World vs. World ranks or something.
Ooh.
In the reward.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, there are people that have never gotten Ascended drops in World vs. World.
That's really weird because I've been unbelievably lucky in that case. Because
I mean, some people get a lot. And
it doesn't surprise me.
In the past,
lucky in raids.
In the past few weeks, I've actually got about 3 Ascended chests from World vs. World. That's not great, obviously. I mean, there's a lot more efficient ways to do it. But yeah, I've got 2 weapon chests and 3 weapon chests. People. 3 weapon chests in the past month or so, I would say. So I guess I'm just very lucky.
They could just make it like you have to buy you buy Ascended chests and stuff with magnetite shards in PvE. Why couldn't they do that with badges of honor?
Yeah,
which is what you earn in World vs. World.
Well, okay.
I mean, that's the currency you earn in World vs. World.
The thing is though, how many badges of honor and proofs of heroics do long-time World versus World players have?
A lot.
You can look at Guild Wars 2 efficiency. I think the number one player has something like I'm not sure if it's 1 million at this point, but I mean, the last time I checked, which is a couple months ago, I think the number one was 600,000.
So yeah,
so easy solution. Ascended Armor costs 100,000 badges.
No, yeah, because this is the thing,
That's too much. That's a bit too much.
So this is the thing. Like, how can you? Because there's so much currency. Would you have to introduce a new currency or something?
Well, maybe, but I mean, look at it this way. Assuming you do raids, however many times a week, right? And you get 150 from
150
from
shards, yeah.
150 shards, right? And how long have raids been out?
Was it like nearly a year now? Well, actually, no.
I mean, okay, so if you
when did raids come out? Like last November? Yeah, something like that. It's like
if you had gotten the maximum amount of shards you could since it's been out, and you hadn't spent any, I mean, you'd be able to buy a lot of Ascended chests and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
It's the same with World vs. World, except that they've been doing it for 5 times as long.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people like I said, people with 600,000 badges have been pretty much just. I mean, because you don't have anything to spend the badges on. Superior Siege.
Right.
Well, you can't even buy Superior Siege with Badge of Honor. You can only buy regular Siege with Badge of Honor. And
aren't you supposed to just put it all into Gifts of War, Gifts of Battle? Just buy 100 Gifts of Battle and then.
Well,
okay,
now
Bruce,
you don't buy
like
Gifts of
50
Battle.
Years ago.
But I mean, but a Gift of Battle is 500 Badges of Honor. I mean, how many World vs. World players do you think are making 10,000 legendaries every day? They don't need that many Gifts of Battle. So, I mean, again, I think that you could find a way to make Ascended Armor through Badges of Honor without, obviously there are going to be people with 600,000 Badges of Honor who could buy a shitload of Ascended gear, but I mean, that's fair because they've had Badges of Honor for 5 years.
That's a good
way to do it. Do you make getting Ascended Armor, because Ascended Armor in PvP is tied to seasons. Do you make getting Ascended Armor in World vs. World only tied to seasons? If so,
skirmishes. Great. Mithrin said this in chat. Really great idea. The better you do in the skirmish, the more tokens you get or something. You get a separate token. So you need to have badges of honor, maybe proofs of heroic as well. Who knows? We can have some proofs of heroic as well. And then you get a separate token for winning the skirmish. Boom. There you go.
The matchup.
Yeah, on the matchup. Yeah, on the matchup. Skirmishes on the matchup. And then you get easy Ascended Armor, guys.
The one thing with that is, I would say make make it so you can get things other than Ascended Armor, because at this point, a lot of those more hardcore World of Sword players probably already have Ascended Armor.
Sure,
just for your grind.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to
weapons,
right, you have to make some sort of, right.
Whatever.
Tier 6 materials, stuff like that, you know? Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying, make World of World exclusive skins, and I mean, there's like the Legacy reward track or something with a really ugly armor skin. But I mean, that's one skin in 5 years. Like, make it so you have, well, I mean, you have the guild armor too, which sucks. But make it so you have, like, you can put special skins on Siege. You can.
Oh yeah, that you could sell that in the gem store, mate.
You know, but just give World vs. World exclusive items, sort of things. You know, that you have to earn through these matchups and stuff.
What is your opinion on gliding in World vs. World?
No.
No.
No, definitely
no
no.
way. Even if it's. Even if it would make, well, actually, you'd have to completely redesign the Desert Borderland.
Right, you have to completely redesign the Desert Borderland, but like that means you could avoid fights, first of all, which is going to be really annoying for people who want to fight, because you could be in a keep and just glide off the side of the keep, and you'd never have to fight anyone.
You need to set up. You need to set up your anti-aircraft gun and shoot them.
You see, anti-aircraft.
Anti-aircraft.
You can't have gliding in World of World, because you could just get to places you could I mean, it's basically like there used to be. I mean, there still are. Like, there's bugs in World of World where you can like glitch through walls and stuff. I mean, that's basically, you know, having an advantage over other players. You know, that's making the game mode unfair, because you're able to take these keeps and stuff without actually having to take the keeps. And gliding would basically be the equivalent of that, in my opinion. If you could glide over walls.
You'd have to alter the map in some ways to make sure you can never do that. You can never.
Even still, if you had a map where you could literally not glide into a single objective, again, I think it would affect fights in a negative way. I think, I mean, maybe if you made it so, if you're near an enemy, you couldn't glide. But again, that would just, I mean, you pretty much would never be able to glide anyways. And again, what advantage does having gliding in World of World bring? Nothing.
It would make the those when you take falling damage, you create a spell or an attack very useful. you'd have
literally bombing, just bomb people, just drop on them.
Well, there used to be people who would run Death from Above on warriors and just jump off cliffs onto groups of people.
Exactly. But now think about that, but 20 of them jumping onto a Zerg.
No.
Oh my god.
I mean,
oh my god.
No, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe gliding.
No, Boots is completely wrong.
I don't see it being a positive.
Thank you.
Inks, say wrong. You have to say wrong. We have got to give Boots his weekly dose of being called wrong.
Wrong, Boots.
Wrong.
Boots. Wrong.
Pearl Harbor Bay. Nice example.
We need Brazil. We just need to get a recording of Brazil so we can press a button in the background that just says it.
This Brazil guy gets mentioned a lot. I should meet him. Sounds like a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Super great.
Brazil's a good guy.
I need a reason.
He's just a controversial
figure.
figure.
The Valkyrie while playing World vs. World.
You just want to use Valkyrie song all over the place.
You can still do that in a regular fight, man. You could run in with Flight of the Valkyrie going, man. That's pretty cool.
He does. He does.
He does that anyway. Yeah. I mean, he's already doing that, but he wants to be fully immersed. His immersion isn't there yet. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to be able to say in TeamSpeak, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, and then I'll be happy.
Drop big bombs, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see, guys. We have fixed the reward system for World vs. World.
Really?
Yes, we solved it.
Not really.
We solved it. Okay. Right. We said we fixed the competitive issue. Let's bring back the seasons. Job done. And then you lure the PvE players in with the rewards. Okay, you gotta bait them. You gotta bait them with a nice juicy carrot.
The seasons, though. We've decided that.
Yeah, you need to prevent the bandwagoning by locking shit and announcing it, and then lock it so they can't bandwagon.
And then walk on water. That's the next.
Walk on water? No. We don't want to do that. Like, what else? What else do we need to solve? What else? Oh yeah, and the GVG stuff. We fixed GVG as well.
GVG wouldn't be hard to fix.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, well, here's what GVG needs: any support from ArenaNet, at all. That's what GVG needs.
Good luck.
It has none right now.
That response got me kind of interested. So you're saying they responded to you saying they will never support GVG?
She didn't say the word. Well, first off, they have said they're not going to support GVG at other points. There was, I mean, I don't know.
GVG as it is, or
no, just in general. They said there was never going to be room for GVG in Guild Wars 2. I couldn't tell you the exact post, but there was a post on the forums where there was someone who said, no, we're not going to support GVG. But the email that I received was that they don't. So basically, I was creating a tournament, a GVG tournament with a friend of mine, and we did this twice on EU. And basically, I emailed ArenaNet and I said, we're doing this tournament. I explained how we're doing it. I explained, the reason we want to do it and how everything was going to work. And all I said to them was, could you host us on Twitch? That's all I want. I don't want rewards. I don't want gems.
Wow.
None of that. And all I said was, and I also suggested a couple changes that they could make to the guild hall. And then, like I said, a month later, I got an email back saying they already support competitive game modes in Guild Wars 2, so they're not going to help with the tournament. And if that's the stance they want to take,
that's an odd stance.
If you look, first off, if you look at how many guilds used to play this game, like GVG guilds, hardcore GVG guilds, there were 10 on every server. Now there's maybe 10 in the game, and if you look at all the Team Aggression videos, and obviously not just Team Aggression, but they were probably the most widely known guild, GVG guild in Guild Wars 2. If you look at all the YouTube videos that like Pank put out, Cran puts them out, and other people from TA. I mean, there are videos from those GVGs, and there were streams also like this that have literally over 50,000 views on YouTube, and this is from zero support from ArenaNet, no advertising by them. You had streams with over 2,000 viewers. I mean, Kemzo was an elementalist from TA, and he streamed almost every day, and he always had like 500, 600 viewers when he was streaming Worldless World. And, you didn't have anything from ArenaNet to support that. And there obviously was, I think they could have made a pretty competitive mode. And something I just wanted to mention, as far as Worldless World goes, I look at Worldless World as a more competitive game mode than PvE. I think it's supposed to be more competitive, and I think that's the biggest change that needs to happen in Worldless World. I think even if you make Worldless World way more competitive, there's still room for the casual people, the people who don't want to be as more hardcore. But I think that you're going to bring back a lot more players, and you would attract more players if you have this competitive part of the game, and if you make Worldless World way more competitive, because the majority of guilds that left the game, the hardcore GVG guilds, the commanders from those hardcore GVG guilds and stuff, who basically drew a lot of players, they left because they were really burnt out from basically not having any support, not having any communication, not having a supported game mode that was their primary game mode, and there's just no competition. So I think that's the biggest thing to me that needs to happen, is the competitive nature.
How long ago was that email? Like the
in October.
This October?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so obviously I'm not into GVG. I never really have been, and I just think it's absurd to not want to fix the arena, or not even attempt to.
And I think it'd be easy fixes too. I mean, you make it not a PvE instance. You don't have
even worse.
And make it a bit bigger. Make it a little bit bigger so you can use the other tactics, additional tactics.
Even worse than that.
Make it nighttime.
Why not a host on Twitch? I mean, literally meaningless. A host from ArenaNet on Twitch.
And we had, I think, 700 viewers for the first tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, partner streamers get hosted all the time to do nonsense. Why not a guild versus guild host? I mean, literally, what you should do is you should talk to a partner and just say, hey, we want to run this tournament. Let's just use your screen, and ArenaNet will host them.
Well, Teapot actually did host us the second.
Yeah.
The second tournament, which was nice, but there were just so many issues with the guild hall that the tournament didn't really turn out very well, in my opinion. And the other problem is, we had, I think.
Well, that'll be to do with the spectator stuff, right? The spectator issues as well. Yeah?
Well, yeah.
Or lack of, rather. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's really hard. You can't really. There's no way to spectate. There's no supported way to spectate GVGs and stuff. But it's just, you only have 8 guilds now, or we only had 8 guilds for the second tournament. That was in February. For this, just because there's just lack of interest now. Yeah. There's lack of motivation for these GVG guilds, and it's the same reason that I say I'm really burnt out. I mean, I tried a lot, to get more guilds well, to get attention from ArenaNet, to have more guilds into GVG, and to get the GVG scene more competitive and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's again, a 5-year-old game with 0 support. It's very, very hard to do that.
The Twitch thing just really boggles my mind. I don't understand.
Who did you what did you email in just to support at ArenaNet, or?
It was the ArenaNet support email or whatever, and I got a response from Gilgray, like I said. Because I didn't know how to contact ArenaNet.
Yeah, that's it. That might be the issue there. It might have been just the complete wrong department, and they didn't.
So who do you contact for that though?
That's a good question. Yeah, because there's no way to see that.
How do I? First off, I don't know. They have I think 2 or 3 World vs. World devs for the entire World vs. World, and I don't know how to contact them. I mean, on Reddit, maybe. I actually no. You know what? I sent Grouch a message on Reddit, and he never responded.
Wow. That's quite unusual, actually. That is quite unusual.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously he's not a World vs. World dev, which is fair. He was the PvP dev, but he'd always been really supportive of the PvP tournaments, and he obviously seemed more competitive as far as what he wanted. But so I thought I would.
Was that in October though?
Yeah, it was the same time. It was over Reddit.
When did Grouch leave ArenaNet?
It was before he did.
Okay.
I wouldn't have contacted him after he left.
That would have been a bit unusual.
Well, no. So actually, sorry, I sent this email out in September. I just didn't get a response back till October, and I sent the message to Grouch in September as well. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I was pretty mad. Now I kind of laugh at it because this is 6 months later or whatever.
And I mean, you did very well regardless, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still happy with what ended up happening. I mean, me and my friend Domi, we had literally no idea how to run a tournament or organize or anything, and we were trying to do this all on our own. And for what we ended up doing, I'm pretty happy about it. There were issues, of course, with the first. There were a lot of issues with the first. We tried to do like a league basically, where we had, I think it was 2 months basically. Over the course of 2 months, we would have guilds fight every other guild, and it just ended up being that was too long of a time period. And then we had the tournament portion, which ended up being pretty good, and then we did a second tournament in February, which was just the tournament portion, and that also would have gone very well, except for the instancing issues where there were. Yeah. We were the plan was we were going to stream for 2 days, and we ended up having to stream for 3 days because the first day we couldn't do the last GVG we wanted because of instancing issues. We waited for an hour and then ended the stream. And then the second day, we ended up only streaming 1 GVG for the same reason. We literally sat there for 2
maybe
hours.
That's why they don't want to host on Twitch. They don't want to see how
people. They don't want to expose how broken the system is. They knew.
We would love to host you, but our game doesn't actually work very well in that situation, so we can't.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? And
oh, brother.
Yeah,
that is actually pretty funny.
A Twitch host to me is such a minimal thing. That kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Especially because they don't do anything else. They don't have any other tournaments going on. They're not streaming anything else.
Yeah, whatever.
They stream the PvE stuff. I think, right? There's some PvE stuff they stream, or they were streaming. I don't know if they still do it. I don't really watch their channel. But
it's not so much anymore. It's just they do the art show, right?
What's even more bothersome is if a partner would have signed up for a hosting slot, ArenaNet would just host them, and you could run a GVG tournament, and they wouldn't even care. Mm-hmm. So to have someone mail you and say, "Hey, here's what we're gonna run this tournament." I mean, you're not even asking for gems, which they may not want to support, right? But
they gave gems to the last PvP tournament that Helseth and Sin did. And they also gave gems to NA tournaments PvP tournaments that a couple NA players made.
Sure, but you're not even asking for
exactly.
For gem
so I'm
support. You're just asking for a host.
That, but they wouldn't do it. Yeah, they wouldn't even host us. I thought it was interesting. I mean, to be fair, I was actually really happy I got a response at all. that was nice that someone had actually read my email and decided to respond to me. I was surprised.
I will say that. You probably would have had you might have seen success with a host if you would have said, by the way, I'm working with X partner as well.
Yeah, probably.
Because they might see you and just say, oh, some random guy wants to host a tournament. We don't know who this is, So I mean, maybe that's part of the factor, but I don't know.
No,
Well,
you're not wrong there.
It's probably partly that. Maybe also just support probably isn't the right place to go through. But the problem is you don't know what the right place to go through is.
Yeah, like who else do you contact?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
like
maybe
that's contact them via Twitter.
Trust me, if I had any other ways to contact anyone, I would have sent out messages to all of them. You know.
Yeah. I think maybe that's something that ArenaNet should do. Just have some sort of way to for people to contact when they want to promote the game. It's promotion for the game.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And when the PvP tournaments were going on still, they every time you would load into, when you were in a loading screen, it would say on the screen, it would say like,
check it out.
We're doing this tournament. Yeah, they could have done that. I mean, I don't know. They probably wouldn't have. That's not, obviously that's more than just a Twitch host, but that's something they could have done, which would have been nice. And it's, well, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's an angle to this I'm not quite seeing, but I don't see the harm. I certainly don't see the harm in I don't see the harm in a Twitch host, and I don't even see the harm in throwing a couple of gems at an event like this that
I actually
advertises your game.
I bought gem cards for
the
second tournament we for giveaways and stuff, because I felt that it wasn't really fair to have nothing.
Right.
You're a good man, Roy. You're a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's.
And don't get me wrong, I can understand that like GVG is not something they actively develop for or support or whatever, but there's still plenty of people playing it. It's a tournament you could form out of it. People are having fun and enjoying it. You have an audience of some sort.
You had there was a very large audience a couple years ago. And they would have still had a very large audience. I still think that even I mean, there would obviously be some guilds that were made in the beginning of the game that wouldn't be around now, but I think that a majority of guilds that left wouldn't have left if the game mode they wanted to play had been supported. I mean, why
of course,
been made into a scene.
That would have been the case with every with PvE and PvP as well, right? Like if there was no support for the game modes, then people would leave.
It's always been 100% community driven, and to be honest, World vs. World as well has a lot. I mean, a lot of the stuff within World vs. World has also been community driven. Just so I'm not only talking about GVG, but it's been always community driven. Like we haven't had any support at all, in my opinion. Not really.
Does hope spring eternal though? Are you excited for the idea of an X-Pack coming out with possible? I am and
I'm not. So like I mentioned before, obviously I'm just very burnt out right now. I'm just not playing as much. But if I'm still gonna be looking forward to the expansion. And if there are really great changes, I'd probably come back and play, assuming I don't have any work constraints. And I would hope that if there was, there were really great changes in this new expansion, that more players would come back, and I would expect that as well. So yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to an expansion. But the thing is, whereas with Heart of Thorns, I pre-ordered it, and I was really hyped about it, I'm not going to pre-order this expansion. I'm not going to, get really hyped up for it, because they said, pre-hot, they said after we release Heart of Thorns, we're going to be working really hard on World vs. World. We're going to, that's what we're going to be dedicated to, and they haven't done that, in my opinion. I mean, they haven't done nothing, but they haven't really done much, I'd say, with it. And a huge thing with that is the communication is just they don't communicate with players very much. They don't really. Again, they seem very detached from the game mode. If you look at the official forums, the World vs. World subforum practically never has dev responses.
They're trying to make you forget the game mode exists. They're trying to brush it under the carpet.
All the World vs. World topics on Reddit don't really get any dev attention. I don't know if I've ever seen a dev comment on any of the World vs. World topics. And to be honest, most of the World vs. World topics get downvoted very fast on Reddit, which is
but yeah.
And this is something that I also mentioned the first time I was on TeaTime stream. There was the Adopt a Dev program. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that. Which, laugh, but
sorry.
Honestly, I think it was a really good idea. I think Adopt a Dev was a really good thing. So basically, it was an ArenaNet dev would basically be adopted by a guild, for a couple weeks, and they would run with that guild. They get in TeamSpeak with them. They would play World versus World, and they'd be really involved, and they were. And I think it was really nice because it was a way for the players to give direct feedback. Obviously, there were some. there were some issues as far as players, being not so polite to the devs. But besides
that's always going to be the case.
Besides that, it was a good idea. It was probably the best idea I've had with Worldless World, if not done necessarily the best way. Like Zanelli said, they went to maybe not the best guilds they could have, in some words.
No, but I remember like the aftermath of that, and people say like the devs who were involved in it.
Anything. They didn't react on any of the feedback they got. We didn't hear anything about it after it ended. We kept asking. I just saw
a Reddit thread about it, and people and some devs commenting on the Reddit thread that I had a really good time.
Yeah, and I think it was a nice experience, but they just didn't do anything about it. Like nothing came about because of the Adopt a Dev program, and it was the same thing with the beta that they had for Guild Wars 2 when the beta was out. People gave them a lot of feedback about how they could make Worldless World better, and they didn't do anything about that. There's a post from Sacrex, who was a commander for one of the better-known Worldless World guilds, which doesn't have the best grammar, but it's still interesting to read. And also the Desert Borderlands beta. There was a... Sorry for your comment.
That's actually pretty accurate. I'm not going to lie to you, that's actually pretty accurate.
What?
That you look like Anthony Portman from FIFA Vendetta.
Yeah. I see it. I see it.
Great, I'm really glad to hear that. But they didn't they didn't react on any of the feedback they got for the Desert Borderlands, or at least not a lot of it, and they ended up making a lot of the mistakes that people said they were going to make, and they ended up a lot of the issues World vs. World players had with the Desert Borderland were issues that were told to them in the beta. And now the Desert Borderland is better. They have changed a lot, and it's certainly better. But I mean, at the start, it was awful. I mean, so many people stopped playing when it was only Desert Borderland, or they only played on Eternal Battlegrounds, and that's not at all what you want.
Yeah, it's a shame because, I mean, not just for World vs. World, but those beta maps in general, that feedback largely went...
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. Same with Stronghold, right? Same with...
Stronghold's another prime example of feedback given, but
nothing happened.
Changed. And I laughed at the Adopt a Dev program for two reasons. Number one, not all of them, but a number of the devs went to friendly guilds that necessarily weren't able to provide, I think, the proper feedback or experience. And then they didn't do anything with the, like you said, they did nothing with the feedback. They got the experience and then didn't do anything with it as far as we could see, and certainly as far as that was communicated. And what's a real shame is, the rare occasions that I do play World vs. World, I do see ArenaNet devs in there from time to time. Believe me, I try and slaughter them, and they're usually protected by large groups of freaking players.
Well, you get an achievement for killing them, actually.
That's why I want to kill them. But
you don't get any achievement points for it.
No, I don't care. I just want the achievement. I can care less about
it's a fun achievement to get. Yeah, absolutely.
I literally just want to kill another ArenaNet employee in World vs. World. But anyway, so I do see it happening from time to time. And a little while ago, there was a post about ArenaNet devs like capping keeps and whatever, which is kind of funny. But so some of them do play it. I just wish those that played it, and they play it often, the ones that do, I wish they were more, like you said, more communication, more vocal, or from time to time you hear about these side projects, less and less now, unfortunately, but, I wish somebody would take a deep vocal interest in World vs. World.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we needed a Grouch for World vs. World, basically.
Yeah.
Before he left.
PvE needs a Grouch as well. Everybody needs a Grouch.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone needs a Grouch. We need to clone him. We need to clone him and get a Grouch for every game mode.
Unfortunately, he's in Crucible.
He's in a better place now.
He's ascended. He has ascended onwards. Wow. Oh my goodness. This is literally the worst host timing I've ever seen, because I think that's just about going to do it, guys, right?
Yeah, I think so too. This is great, by the way. I love these tea times where we get to interview someone rather than come up with things to talk about.
Yeah, it's great. Unfortunately, Sam just hosted. But
thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. I really appreciate it, dude. You're my homie. But unfortunately, that is gonna about wrap it up, guys. We have literally solved every single problem in World vs. World.
Yeah,
I mean,
tomorrow when you log in,
it's done. It's patched. It's patched. It's done.
Thanks, TeaTime.
Yeah, we've done it. We've done it, guys. That's the power of Roy, guys. That is the power of Roy. I mean, he's carrying the whole World versus World community on his strong, muscular back, with his beautiful selfies to enlighten the plebs. See, look, I love you, Roy. Look, it's in chat.
He's wrong.
It's in Twitch chat, man. It's in Twitch chat.
Does he love Roy or does he love Natalie Portman?
Yeah.
Oh, stop! No.
But yeah.
V for Vendetta was a good movie, though.
It was a good movie, yeah. But yeah, I think that's going to be about it. So, Roy, do you have anything that you would like to kind of close out? You want to plug something? You want to give any shout outs, stuff like that, or shill something? No. You got a brand of T-shirts, maybe? You're selling? Got Roy's face on? Roy next door?
I think I'd sell about none of those, but no, I just want to say thanks. I know this isn't how you normally have tea time, probably, and obviously you're a PvE focused stream normally. Although now that you're getting into Worldless World, it's great.
Multi-stream.
To be fair, there's nothing to talk about in PvE anyway. So.
Yeah. All right, good. I'm glad I could help. But yeah, thanks to Worlds and Inks as well for being here. It was nice to meet you guys. Nice to talk to you guys.
Just Tio for a second. I just realized you've been calling me World this whole time. And
it's just it's Bootsy Wootsy.
Call me Boots.
Oh, okay.
Not Bootsy Wootsy.
Bootsy Wootsy. His name is Bootsy Wootsy.
Okay, Bootsy Wootsy. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and thanks to the people watching. I hope it was interesting. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. And sorry that people had to stare at me for almost 2 hours. That must be awful for you.
Never apologize for that.
Yeah. All right.
We are by far the most attractive podcast. Not even close, my friends. Okay.
I don't know about that.
This is a stacked podcast in that respect. But yep. Thank you very much for coming on, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
If there's one thing I can do well, it's talk a lot. So that's that's.
There we go. Just beautiful. I don't know. Let's see. Boots, you have returned.
World of Boots has returned.
World of
or
Boots.
You can just call me
Bootsy Wootsy.
World if you'd like.
Boots of Enders.
Yeah. Boots of Enders. Yeah. Who are you?
What do I want to say? I'm just a guy who YouTubes and does some stuff sometimes. But I wanted to say something that I forgot about this entire time.
Go. Do it.
When was the last time that we've had 2 articles in the same week from like Rock Paper Shotgun and something else? I think it was MMORPG about ArenaNet. It was that the last.
What did Rock Paper Shotgun talk about?
Wait, what?
The last art designer. What's his name? Docio, Daniel Docio,
Dossier, I think, or something. Yeah. I don't know how you pronounce it.
He's handing over the torch to his son.
Right. That was a while ago.
No, that was last week, I thought.
Wasn't that cool?
Well, anyway, there was an article about it last week. Oh. And then there was another article about how it wasn't Rock Paper Shotgun, it was a different one that was talking about how the art style of Guild Wars 2 is designed to never look outdated based on graphics. Like, even though it'll last 10 years, it won't look outdated because of the art style. And this is the first time I noticed that, like, it's been a long time since we've had 2 large publications writing about Guild Wars 2, so it makes me think that something might be happening sometime.
Well, we know the next Living Story episode is important. Expansion confirmed.
Well, here's the other thing about
they're dropping the bombs.
The art side of things, I think they just had... There's an art competition. I was going to call it an art show, but I think that's wrong. But there's an art competition that happens every year. And a lot of artists from ArenaNet usually win awards on their conceptual designs. And I think that just wrapped up recently, so maybe it ties into that somehow.
Maybe. Anyway, it was just something I thought about.
That's cool.
That's World of Enders.
That's World of Enders. You can find it on Rock Paper Shotgun and MMORPG.
You don't want to plug your upcoming series?
Massively OP, rather.
Wooden Potatoes on...
on
Speculation, Elite, whatever.
By the way, we have to change the name because Reddit did not approve.
Because it's not speculation. It's design a spec.
Yeah, but whatever.
They were not happy with your choice of words.
Oh dear, mistake.
Mistake.
What about you, Inks? See you up there. Role-playing Brazil, being toxic, being delusional.
I lost some Twitter followers. Follow me on Twitter. Teapot cannot win. Don't let Teapot win.
Whoa, no.
You need to follow me on Twitter. The other things nobody cares about, so just follow on Twitter. You can can listen to me tweet about things nobody
Spicy
cares
tweets.
about. Tweets of the day.
Tweets of the day. Oh, these Roy next door. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, well.
Got a bit of a gachi theme
Didn't
going
know
on there.
Didn't know I had so many neighbors, but
Yeah, it's they're all moving in. Watch out. Run. There you go.
Yeah.
And finally,
There
it's
you
me. It's me, guys. Look, listen to this tea time. Like we are truly the saviors of Guild Wars 2 and World vs. World in particular. And for that, I think that I have earned the follower. Okay, like I'm gonna like leech the glory of these gentlemen, and I'm gonna take all of it because it's my channel, my followers, easy. And then actually,
I'm gonna unsubscribe. Okay.
no, don't leave. Okay. More importantly than that, my friends, you must all follow me on Twitter because we got to take Inks down. Okay. Just 40 more, guys. 40 more. We're gonna catch
40
up.
away?
Yeah,
Man, I'm
yeah.
slipping.
I'm gonna catch up with them. Twitter followers, man. I'm catching up with MMO Inks. I'm gonna take him down, dude. I'm gonna have more Twitter followers. Yeah, that's it.
That's oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe it was something.
No.
Are you
No.
gonna-
It's completely arbitrary. No, I'm taking him down.
Are you ever gonna
I
have
mean, no,
more
that's awesome.
Twitter
Dude. I
followers?
love
Yeah.
Twitter too.
Yeah, Inks cannot win, guys. But yeah, follow the stream.
He is.
Follow
He's
on
close.
Twitter.
He's getting close, guys. Follow me on Twitter.
Go on YouTube and watch all the other tea
Unfollow
times.
TeaTime.
There's something like 2 years of tea times now, guys. Check that out. That's pretty
was that
crazy.
this week?
Yeah, I think so.
Was
Yeah.
this episode 2 years?
This is episode 2 years of tea time, guys.
I wish I would have
The
remembered.
World versus World
I would've
special.
had a hat and
We can have a
party
hat.
stuff.
We can have a hat
I
next
totally
time.
Forgot.
Oh, did
I have birthday.
Wait,
cake.
actually, I think it was April the 23rd. I think it was April the 23rd was the exact first tea time. Holy shit.
Nice, we made it, boys.
We made it, boys!
Made it.
Yeah. And then if you really like me...
Ruin the anniversary.
Yeah.
All four of us have been here the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, look.
Yeah.
We got some bits from Nike, yeah. But anyway, subscribe if you really like me. And go say hi to whoever we're hosting. Thanks for watching, guys. We love you, okay?
Yeah.
See you later.